Okay, great. Well, welcome everyone to tonight's Community Advisory Board meeting. This is November 19th, 2020, and from all expectations, this will be the last Community Advisory Board for the Little Rock School District as we look forward to a new elected school board joining Mr. Poore and his team in the month of December. And so tonight we've actually invited several people that formerly served on our board. We've got many of our current board members with us tonight, and I'm glad almost everyone is here. And then we were able to be joined by several former board members as well. And I'm thankful that y'all took the time to join us and let us tell you thank you and tell everyone thank you for the work that all of y'all have done over the last 4.5 years. I was thinking about it today, and I think there were 13 of us that served in seven different seats over those 4.5 years, and a lot of good things were done in that time. And I'm thankful for the time that all of you volunteered, not for any selfish motive, but 100% to serve the students of the city of Little Rock. And I'm thankful for all of y'all. I'm thankful for the opportunity that we had to work together. I know Mr. Poore is going to say something here in just a minute, but I want to say that I was thinking about a lot of things that have happened over the last 4 years, and I think a lot of great things were done, and a lot of great seeds were planted for very near future success for the kids in our city. And I look forward to seeing the rewards of that work and the changes that were made being reaped here soon. But I think that maybe the most significant thing that we did as a board that was us, that was our focus, that didn't come from other influences or anything, is that I think that all of you gracefully served as a place for members of our public to come and meet with Mr. Poore and his team, and to hear the business of the district, to also be a place for them to share their vision and their ideas for our city's schools, and to also every now and then vent their frustrations. And even better than being a place for them to be heard, you listened. So many times that I thought of today as I was reflecting on what we've done. I remember when the red shirts from Carver filled up the room many times when we were having to make the hard decisions about school consolidations, and you listened to those families and those parents, and we changed the plan, and we left Carver open. When students showed up to our meetings and asked, whenever we were considering rezoning the high schools, they asked to not be forced in the middle of their high school careers to have to change schools because of redrawing the lines. And you all listened to that, and you voted to grandfather those students in so that they could continue with the classmates, continue the relationships they had with their classmates. When neighborhoods came, when Hillcrest came and asked not to have a divided neighborhood when we were redrawing those lines, you listened to that, and you set aside an option that would have divided that neighborhood between high schools. When parents of dyslexic students came and advocated for changes in the literacy program, you listened to that, and you led in a way that led to a lot of hard work taking place in our district, and a lot of great changes. Probably my favorite thing is, as we move into local control, is that we have a brand new literacy program, a brand new reading curriculum that is starting to take root. And I have no doubt, I'm disappointed that COVID stole our opportunity to measure the first year's success, but I have no doubt that we're going to see great gains in that. And I think that of all the things, responding to the audit that we received with regard to our dyslexic services and special education services, I think that the changes in the literacy and the reading program may be the most lasting, and very well may change the course of many thousands of students' lives in our city. I'm thankful to all of you for the hard work you've done to show up as often as you have, to give the overwhelming number of hours of your personal lives to be a part of this. So thank you for being on this team, and for all your hard work. Mr. Poor, I know you've got some things you want to say to everybody as well.
I do, but I'm going to make you all wait. So you're going to have to be good little board members, even those that are retired board members, and hold on, because we're going to do our meeting. Mr. Wood went a little bit off script, as the president sometimes can do, and went on and did his thing, which is good, but we're going to also do a little bit of how we normally go. And I think our board members who have been away from us for just a little bit will also enjoy this in terms of some of our celebrations before we start to celebrate each of you. So we're going to do something a little bit out of the ordinary again right now that we haven't done. And I think you're really going to enjoy this. This is something that we actually had sent to us from Ms. Rousseau. This is the Little Rock Central Madrigals singing for us to open our meeting. And they're under the direction of Mr. Scott Whitley. Please enjoy the beautiful music that you're about ready to hear. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last? Ma'am, I can hear the music in the background coming from the boardroom, but we're not getting it across the Zoom. We don't want to miss out on this one if we can. Give it just another minute or two, see if Ms. Smith can get it up. Here we go. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stars and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the most bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a man was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Now, that is how you start a meeting, isn't it? And I hope that the audience is able to see all the applause, and even I could see some board members getting kind of emotional about that one. So that was fantastic. And we appreciate how great of fine art program we have in the Little Rock School District and all of our schools, pre-K through 12. And this would just happen to be the Central Madrigals. Now we want to go ahead and cover our celebrations, the district celebrations like we do. And so Ms. Smith will be calling up the slides just so we can share some of the things that have gone on in just the last couple of weeks that I know some of you have heard about. This week, a long-standing tradition of the Jane Mendel Reading Day took place, and this is held and hosted by our VIPS group. This year was different because of the pandemic. We asked people to write letters to engage young readers about your experience with books, and it went very good. Donation of books. Get this, over 940 books donated to the Little Rock School District to schools. Our own mayor came and took part in this, and a funny quick story about the mayor is that when he arrived, it happened to be career day. So our chamber's on today, and we're going to do a presentation on Fort Jail later. It was career day at Fair Park, and that is the home of the BIPs. So he brought books by, but as he went and walked out, he ran into a career person who wants to be a mayor, a 4-year-old, young Hispanic student, decked out, made Mr. Scott even, I think, cringe a little bit, like, I am not worthy right now. And could be his next opponent, could right around the corner, because the mayor just celebrated a birthday yesterday. So he's getting old, and we got a young one ready to take over. But a wonderful experience with VIPs. Here's me acting up and going crazy. If you haven't seen this, please don't try to find it. I chose a book, and as I started to read the book, I go, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose these young people. They're going to get bored. And so, man, I started to live out the book, and I was flying, and I was dancing, if you can believe it. And then I had everybody on the Zoom flying and dancing and Zooming with me. And we had a wonderful celebration with both our young readers as well as readers that were a part of the 3rd through 5th grade. So we had 2 different types of reading that I got to do. And I'm telling you, sometimes there's some downsides to a pandemic. This was one of the pluses, because I got to read to virtually every student in elementary and pre-K in Little Rock School District on Tuesday, and I had a ball. Our next slide is we're very excited about our community school effort. And the community school effort, one of the real tangible things that's happening right now is grab-and-go meals that are coming in on a monthly basis. This is tied to our partners with the city, and we appreciate the mayor. You can see that the mayor is in one of the bottom pictures here, actually helping out. And this week he was at Stevens Elementary helping out. Dr. Jay Barth is a critical component. And of course, our own Darian Smith has been the leader for our district in terms of bringing forth the community school model. This reminder is starting off at Chicot Elementary, Stevens, Washington, and Watson this year. And we're very proud of how that's going. And our community is really valuing on this hot meal on a day, but also get a box of food that goes with the family that they can have over the next week. Our next slide is a kind of a tribute to our food service group. Obviously, they were a part of all the meals that went out in the spring and the summer that we did in conjunction with the city and Clinton School and Hunger Relief and CALS. We are very proactive in our approach to food service. We, unlike many districts, have held our own on cost and haven't lost as much money because of really excellent management by Ms. Stephanie Walker and Ms. Kelsey Bailey. And we're also proactive. And so we just recently received another grant. And I just want to applaud the efforts of our team, Mr. Bailey and Ms. Walker Hines, for getting this. Next, we have a slide that will share the celebration that occurred at Little Rock Southwest this week. You might remember this from previous years, and former board members might remember this as well, that it happened at Hall previously with Chick-fil-A doing the Leadership Academy for students. And this year we have that happening at Little Rock Southwest with the Chick-fil-A in the southwest part of the city. And we had a group of about 20 to 25 leaders that got some leadership training, and they will be doing service learning projects back out into the community. And so we're excited about what these young people will bring to our community and to Little Rock Southwest. Appreciate Mr. Burton, Principal Mr. Burton, and Ms. Shanda Megan was involved in this. And of course, the folks at Chick-fil-A were wonderful as well. Next, this is, of course, part of our presentation tonight of, trying to do more things with career readiness. This is our Excel construction program, and I know that some of our board members from previous time or over the past 5 years have been a part of us talking about Excel. This was really exciting because Pastor Holloway from the Compassion Center asked our students to create tables. And so if you look on the bottom left, you start to kind of get a visualization of those tables, as well as on the top right-hand corner of the collage of pictures. And I'm telling you, the materials that the students used were really, I don't know how else to say it, but they were cheap. But the product that they produced was far from cheap. You could go up and touch the table and there was no wobble. The finish on the product was outstanding. Pastor Holloway got emotional about this. The kids so proud of their efforts. And this is all going, it's a project where they learned how to build this and did it for Pastor Holloway, who then donated them to the women's shelter. So it's a win-win-win all over the place of skill development for our young people. And I will tell you that I told each one of these young folks that as soon as they're ready to apply for colleges or apply for a job or for scholarships, all they have to do is put my name down and then send me a text message so that I can be aware and remind me of who they are so that I can expound on their contributions to our community and their preparation for their next phase of life. And I want to congratulate the teacher there, Miss Gray. She's a rock star that we're now in our second year with her. And of course, Miss Montgomery and Miss Huff, who lead the Excel program, and now will be helping us lead the Ford NGL that you'll hear about later tonight. Next slide. This is almost unheard of to have five students that got perfect ACT scores at Little Rock Central High. Now, Mr. Rutherford and I are kind of the old birds. He won't like me saying that. I don't think he gets to speak tonight, so he can't retort. But, as older gentlemen, we cannot remember ever a time where one school anywhere in our career and anywhere I've been in Colorado or Arkansas where one school had 5 kids get perfect scores. You can see Alex and Dinez and Kathleen, Samuel and Joseph are here. And no doubt some of you are aware of them or their families, and hopefully you'll take the names down and reach back out and go back to this PowerPoint. And of course, we want to congratulate the families of these young people. And finally, we also want to congratulate the teachers that were behind them from pre-K all the way up through the ladder to get them into a place where they got a 36 and of course have amazing options in front of them for their post-secondary life. This week we also had, it's been a very busy week, folks. This week we had virtual deliveries for our pre-K. All of you know, and hopefully our community knows, that we're down 800 students in our pre-K this year. No doubt that is because of the pandemic, and we understand that, and we understand the fears and concerns of parents. So we held a recruitment of parents for pre-K. We're asking parents, if you want to come in this week or next week, we're going to find a place for your child. If you come in at semester, we're going to find it, or if you wait till next year. But we wanted to answer questions that parents had, as well as provide our protocols from everything from safety to what we do with instruction with these young folks. And I have to tell you, I'm very, very proud of our pre-K group, because that's maybe the toughest group to try to do math with. But when I go walk in and out, they have their mask on, and I'm extremely excited about how well we've handled that and how well the kids handle it, the staff. They kind of go in pods. So one example would be that there's a green pod and a red pod. They stick with that green pod all day long. Okay, they don't interact with other pods as they go do their activities and work with their teachers, just as a sign of safety. The folks that are leading this effort, of course, Ms. Esther Jones, who leads our pre-K, Mr. Darian Smith and Dr. Fields from the district office, and then all of our early childhood principals have done a fantastic job. And by the way, I hope you see this, Ms. Chevarria. We also had this done in Spanish and did a special day just for Spanish-speaking families as well. Next slide. And this is our last one before we get into the tributes to our community advisory board members. This actually happened today, where we got to open up another school-based health clinic at Chicot Elementary. Now, this makes so much sense because if you remember, Chicot Elementary is a Leader in Me school. And so when you're a Leader in Me school, the kids take over. And so the kids were a part of every aspect of this and did a wonderful job in their PowerPoint presentation video. It was kind of a little bit of a TikTok video thing that went on, and just did a great job of showing how the 7 habits fit in to why a clinic just makes sense. We have great partners that are a part of this clinic. And of course, I want to make sure to call out Principals Curry And then the principal of the Early Childhood Center, Miss Donna Hall, their assistant principal, Mildred Butler. You got an amazing counselor by the name of Adrian Hawkins at Chico. And then there's so many other people, but Margot Bushmeyer and Pam Smith did a fantastic job with, putting this all together. This has really been 2 years in the works. When we presented this initially to the ADE, they couldn't believe all the partners, all the collaboration that was there. Every question they brought up, we had an answer, and we moved forward. Also, remember, Chico is a community school. You see Dr. Barth over there on the left, and so this fits well within one of the pillars of the community school model to have a health clinic that can go and support our young people and support families. And this will provide not only things that are proactive, preventive type measures, but also we'll do things for mental health for our students and for dietary. And finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up that Children's Hospital is right there again with us. So those of you that know Marcy Doder, the CEO of Children's, give her a pat on the back and thank her, but also Dr. Ochoa, who many of you know from the Southwest, who's led the effort to bring medical really support into the Southwest part of our city, is right there and helped us. And then we also had the kind of head of their nursing program is Kirkland there today from Children's Hospital. So a fantastic set of partners and collaboration and a delivery where they have, get this, 100% of their students have been immunized. 100%. Okay, just a fabulous statistic and a tribute again to everything that's going on in Chico and their leadership. So that ends our celebration, and now we're going to go towards what Mr. Wood wanted to do right off the bat because he couldn't wait, and get into honoring you as a community advisory board. Now, I will tell you, each of you have come on at different stages, and I'm hoping that you will all open up your, thank you, Ms. Dr. Jones, and turn on your video so that I can see your faces and everything. There's Larry. I got to go give him the LSY three slaps, so we're all there. And I know that Mr. Hampton's on, and Candy, and it's so good to see some of you that I don't necessarily get to see all the time. And I still remember one of the first events that I got to go to as the incoming superintendent, and I didn't even know this happened. I may have changed my mind a little bit as I was coming in, but they were saying, oh, by the way, you get a community advisory board too. And I said, wait a minute, I thought you were my board. He goes, no, you got a community advisory board. I said, oh, okay. So I show up at the State Board of Education office, and if I remember right, there were 39 people that sought to be community advisory board members, to be the first group of 7. 39, and then the commissioner had the responsibility of picking 7. And I thought, as this was going on, I'm like, well, how is he ever going to pick this? Because they were just really, it was heartwarming to hear people talk about their passion about the Little Rock School District, their desire to do something to improve the lives of young people, their desire to be supportive of the Little Rock staff. And I won't forget that. And then I won't forget the initial training, which, if you think about it, in December, we're getting ready to go do another training. And those of you that were the initial 7 on that board, remember Horace Smith was the guy that helped deliver the training. And remember, he talked about circles of influence and what that means in terms of governance and what that means in terms of the roles of a board, a role of a superintendent, the role of the staff, and the role of the community. And we're going to go use Horace again as the new board forms in December with a retreat in the first part of December. But the individuals that took part in this, I want to give special tribute to 3 of you that did it the entire time: Mr. Jeff Wood, Miss Melanie Fox, and Miss Lapita Chevarria. Congratulations and thank you for doing it for 5 years. After that, it would be remiss if I didn't bring up Larry Clark. Okay, I'm going to say something about each one of you. Larry, a lot of times everybody looks at Larry, and the first time I met him, I'm like, man, that guy's fun. But I'll tell you what, that guy's serious about literacy. And he was really the first community advisory board member and says, Mike, you got a literacy problem. And we got to work on that, and then was willing to serve on the first committee. And so thank you, Coach Clark. Next, I want to bring up Anthony Hampton. And Anthony, here's a guy that still is contributing to our district. I'm at a football game, and all of a sudden someone says, "Hey, that's Anthony Hampton over there." And I go, "Where?" And they go, "Over there running the camera for Little Rock Southwest." I go, "You're kidding me." They go, "No, he does it here. He does it for his church, and he's just all about kids." And you think about his words and his wisdom throughout all of our meetings. It was always just about kids, and you were awesome. Freddie Scott, it's rare that you get to be around an NFL football player right off the bat. And first time I heard Freddie Scott, I said, "You mean Freddie Scott that was on the Packers?" And they go, "Yeah, that Freddie Scott." They go, "You know about Freddie Scott?" "Oh yeah, I know about Freddie Scott." And he jumped in. And the great thing about Mr. Scott, he actually had the shortest term. I hate to give you that title, Mr. Scott, but you had the shortest term, and then had to move on because he joined in with the State Department. But he never lost sight of the Little Rock School District and continued to try to reach out, contribute, and be aware. And also as a man of faith, a pastor that impacts our community on a daily basis. So thank you. I don't know if Chauncey's with us, but Chauncey Holman was the youngest board member that I'd ever encountered that ran. She's still out there and innovating. I don't think she's on tonight, but I want to specifically call her out for being a part of that initial board. And then I'll just kind of go through the rest of our list with folks. Candy Hughes was a wonderful partner in so many different ways. When you got two lawyers on your board and have Jeff Wood and Candy at the same time, that wasn't all that fun. Okay, sometimes I have to admit that. But what Candy did is she had a passion about it and a legal sense. And then the other thing, as a parent within our district, that was another key thing. And the final thing is she created the partnership with Southwest Power Pool that is still living with us. That's huge and helping us with literacy and STEM-based projects. And so we're very grateful for Candy. Well, Shannon Spencer and Geraldine Jones, I want to kind of lump them together because these are the two busiest women in the state maybe right now with everything that's going on with the pandemic. Yet they're in our meetings over and over and over. They're sometimes hobnobbing with the governor and, they're big time, yet they come down to us and are supportive. And they are, advocates. They are such reasonable heads and just care about, kind of trying to find the right fit. I see that in both of you, and I thank you, and I hope I did you justice by lumping you together, but in some ways that whole medical thing is just kind of overwhelming in what you do. Mr. Michael Mason, who will carry on into being one of our new board members along with Mr. Jeff Wood, along with Sandrika, who's also on tonight. And so we have three of our members who are tied to the Community Advisory Board. And when, I don't know if all of you realize, but Michael's got his hands in a lot of things too. Just recently, he was the guy that helped with the study for Rock Region Metro. And he is a person that's constantly sought out for how we look at housing in our community and in the nation. And then he's the guy that comes in and I don't think his words are, it's very specific. He doesn't talk a whole lot, but when he talks, he brings a little bit of thunder. So thank you, Mr. Mason, for your efforts. Jocelyn Craig was with us. I don't know if she's on tonight, but really was a great element to have on our board for a while because she, again, was a parent within the district and had just an ease about her, as well as wanting to be a part of our board. And then Sandrika, who's our newest board member, and I think has how do I want to say this? She is younger than Chauncey Holman, so she is a bright young star, a poet. How good is it to have a poet to be a part of a board member and a person that's really tied into young people in our community through her and her husband, who her husband's actually the person I got to know first, Chris. And Sandrika and Chris are a powerful team, and we're grateful. And I would mention that about Geraldine too, because I don't want to forget Chris, because Chris is a good buddy of mine too, that we got the Jones crew together. And then I want to come back into Lapita. Boy, you know, the first year I didn't hear a whole lot out of Lupita's mouth, but then the second, third, and fourth, it just kind of got spiraled like, whoa, we gotta kind of slow her down a little bit, because when she has something to go, she will also come at you with a little bit of fire, and I very much appreciate that. Melanie, who's not with us tonight, traveling and hated to be gone, she tried to get around this, but you know, what a stalwart and someone that was, you know, a former Little Rock School Board member and then served on the Community Advisory Board, most organized woman of all time. The one woman, I hate to put any of you down, but she is the one woman that always read the packet the weekend before, not the night before, and was always prepared, and had always questions that could come in that made our presentations better going into the week, because she would challenge us on different topics ahead of time, and we so appreciate that. And that is a seed to be planted for all of our new board members, that's a great trait. And then Jeff, who, you know, as we said, is going to carry on to the new group, but he was the president during this whole time too. And so that always wasn't easy. As Jeff shared, there were some times, as many of you know, that were sometimes contentious and sometimes challenging. And Jeff led through all that span of time, those 5 years, and appreciate his leadership and also his willingness to help me with everything from setting agendas to kind of working on, you know, making sure that we do the right things for connecting. Final thing for me. And then I am going to create a little bit of freedom and flexibility for any of you to say something if you like, and I'll try to catch you as you raise your hand if you have something that you want to say. But I want to tell you that there's some things that you really should hang your hat on and feel good about. One, and most importantly, was I really felt you always came at everything with a heart for what is best for kids. And that's sometimes everyone's intent, but it's many people, it's hard for them to get totally focused on that through all the phases of decision making, because it's easy to get mixed up with some adult feelings and politics, but carrying forward with kids is critical, and I think we did that pretty darn well. I think that the other thing that we did is we had fun in our meetings each and every time, even when there was some challenging times, and I think that's a good thing. I also like the fact that you always never complained about how long my celebration part of it went on the board meetings, and that you found that we could do that. And last, governance. You know, you were a model, and if you think about it from the training, but then us going through board policy, there's very few boards that have the intentionality of working through board policy, which is things that last for a long time. When you do the policy, it creates the structure so that everyone has a place to be, and that you do protect those kid interests, and you even protect your staff. So thank you for the efforts of doing the governance end of this in the right way as well. And thank you for sitting through numerous employee hearings, because I know those things are a challenge, because you care a lot about the district, but you care about individual people too. And I appreciate your time spent. I saw Miss Eason giving a big clap and a whoop whoop for that. So we appreciate that, and I'm sure Eric Walker's doing the same thing. So if you have something that you would like to say right now as a board member, either current or past, if you'll kind of wave and I'll call you out, and then I'll let you you can unmute after that. Giving it that pause.
Oh, suddenly everybody's quiet. Well, you did hear my my comments at the beginning, Mr. Poore, and you're right. I did. After you corrected me, I looked at the agenda and saw that I had gotten ahead of myself just a little bit. But I got really excited when I saw some old faces back on the screen. It's good to have Anthony and Larry. Good to have Freddie back on here, and Candy. It's been too long since we've seen you in person. Heck, even the current board, it's been too long since we saw each other in person. I tell you what, this stuff's getting old. I'm ready to be back in the room with some of y'all, getting things done. But anybody have any thing they want to say?
I saw Lupita, I think, maybe raise her hand. So Lupita?
Yeah, just I just want to say thank you to everybody to allow me to serve. I feel in very good hands always when we have meetings, when we talk about everything, or when every time that we have a meetings, I feel very good because all of you are so nice and and very kind. So I appreciate always, always. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Jeff, I want to say something. I just want to thank Superintendent Poor for his hard work. He navigated 5 years, 4 years of this stuff, and he took a couple beatings, and I know some of us took some too, and you took some too, Jeff. But I mean, he took the brunt of all the stuff that went on for the last 4.5, 5 years. So I want to thank you, Superintendent Poor, for making the Little Rock School District a better school district. Thank you, sir.
Hey, y'all, it's Anthony. Of course, I could not say anything, but just want to say thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for the opportunity to serve with you all. Thanks for the staff of Little Rock School District, the administration. As I always end up, I always want to tell you thank you, because y'all are putting your necks on the line and doing the hard work and the job that most of us are not doing. And so thank you for all that you do. Mr. Poor, thank you for the encouragement. Thank you for the support and all of those various different things. So it won't be the end of seeing me somewhere or the other. I'll always be supportive. So thanks for everything.
Well, I would add to that, thanks to everyone, really, and obviously Jeff from day one as we started off, and also Superintendent Poor. And there are others that I see that recognize and work with Dr. Owa and Pamela Smith as well. So I just want to say this, it's not by accident, I believe, that we are where we are. And as we've gone through decisions in life, we've made decisions sometimes based upon our job scenario, but I also believe that there's a work in life. And each one of us have made a quality decision to follow our heart's passion for those kids. So I look at Coach Clark, and he spent time with my grandchildren at his location, and quality time. So each one of us have done that, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to, even though it was a short stint, but to have served. But my heart is still with the vision and the mission of the district, and to see success throughout the community. So I don't wear a hat anymore with the board, but I am involved in the engagement unit. And that being said, I look forward to spending some quality time with those of you that are in the community. So thankful for that opportunity.
Okay, you guys, you know I got to say something. But, I just want to say thanks, and I'm not going anywhere. We got a lot of work to do. I have a big after-school program. This pandemic is really pushing us a little bit backwards. So, your thank you sound like, is that we're finished. So I'm not finished. So, and I know you guys are not finished either. So, let's keep moving forward. Helping out with the community, with the parents, with the youth, and that's what I'm about. So, I know I have been off the board for a while. But I'm still in Little Rock, and we're still making a difference. If you didn't see that, we got my organization, LSY, received a Difference Maker Award. Check it out on YouTube from Rainwater, Houghton, and Saxton. And so we can only have 50 students on site. That was hard to make a decision on what 50 students, and the rest are virtual. But, I learned a lot. Especially when it comes down to tracking and capture data, make sure these students are improving. But thank you guys. I'm not going anywhere. If you need me, call me, look me up, Google me, whatever. Bam. Thank you.
I was just going to quickly say that I appreciate Superintendent Poore and all of the CAB members who I had the privilege of serving with for welcoming me and helping me out with this. I see your passion for the students of the Little Rock School District, and I've been excited to share that with you guys, and I'm excited for the oncoming board because I know that the hard work is going to continue. So I feel encouraged by what's going to happen once I leave this position. So just thank you guys again for the opportunity to serve.
Mr. Wood, I'll finish with just one more comment, if I may, and that is that we have a plaque for each of you, and so I'm bringing this up to just get a little bit closer to the camera so that everyone hopefully could see it and get some glare. But this is a beautiful plaque that we wanted to just share with each of you. This happens to be Lapita's. Lapita, I've got yours in my hands, and it just says the Little Rock School District, Lapita Cheverria. Thank you for your service to the students, the parents, and the staff of the Little Rock School District, Mike Poore, and your Little Rock School District family. So we have one of these plaques for you to have at your desk, and we'll have that and figure out how to get it to you. Ms. Smith will probably be taking that over for me here so that you all have that. So thank you all so much for tuning in tonight and your words, and I appreciate what Mr. Clark especially had to say, because we don't want to lose any one of you in terms of your help and support to continue to move our district forward in the coming years and to work with the new board and continue your work with the Little Rock staff and community. So thank you so much. And Mr. Wood, I'll turn it back to you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Poore. Thank you for your leadership in the last 4.5 years. It is that in itself is to be commended in the Little Rock School District, to have the stability of a superintendent being here as long as you've been here. That is a notable thing in the last several decades, and the stability that you bring is an asset to us. And I say it all the time. There could not have ever been a better cheerleader for the Little Rock School District than Mike Poore. You from day one, you hit the ground running. You burn the candle at both ends, and there could never ever be a question about your dedication to our district and our students. So thank you, your staff. You lead well. You lead a great staff, and to the hundreds and hundreds of teachers that carry out the mission of our district every day, and this year in extremely challenging ways, and doing things that they never thought they'd be asked to do. We're doing good things as a district, and I'm thankful for the attitude that everyone has of kids first. So thank you for leading by example in that, Mr. Poore. And thank all of you for joining us tonight, all of the former board members. It's good to see your face again, and don't be a stranger. Let's keep working together. Well, the next item on the agenda, and at this time, Mr. Mason, if you would, could I hand the meeting over to you and let you run the rest of the meeting? I'm going to hang out as long as I can, but there is going to be a point in the meeting when I have to step away, and so just for continuity's sake, I'd love for you to run this so that things can continue seamlessly as we go through the night. You got it, Mr. Mason?
Well, you hand the ball over to me, so I guess I have to take it, right?
Let's go. That's right.
Okay. We have finished the agenda for CAB recognition. Now we're in our community comments. Is that correct, Mr. Poore?
That's me. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mason.
Yes.
And we did not receive any comments today. So today that one is a quick item. There are no community comments, and we can move on down to the PPC when you're ready.
Okay. Since there are no community comments, so we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, our PPC comments. Ms. Lakeitha Austin, are you available already for your portion of the agenda?
Yes.
Good evening to
I've
you.
been ready. All right, good evening. I'm Lakeitha Austin, and I am bringing to you the PPC certified report. We did meet on November the 9th at 5:30. We actually had a short agenda, but the biggest topic again was just we sent over more concerns in regards to the teacher release time. And so I know that a survey went out to the parents, and I'm sure Dr. Owa speak about that. So we just sent in more concerns as far as teacher release time. One of the biggest questions is what will the week for Thanksgiving look like for certified? So an email has been sent out to all certified employees on what those 3 days will look like. Although, we represent certified, we certainly represent classified as well, because they were having questions about what Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week would look like for them, especially transportation. So I'm hoping that a message went out to classified staff as well in terms of what their days will look like for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Also, the PPC last month, we came up with the salary committee, and so the salary committee met for a second time. We met on yesterday, and we're just really just gathering facts and information at this point. And so we talked about index pay versus stipends, and so we'll meet again within the next few weeks to continue discussing salaries for the school district. Another topic that has been coming up, of course, grades were due yesterday at 4 o'clock, and there has still been lots of issues with Schoology syncing with eSchool, and so we may need to look at doing more training or just seeing what's going on with the system itself. The two systems are supposed to meet together to populate the grades, and it's not working well for a lot of people. So that has been a concern that came up yesterday, starting on Monday, actually. And then the last thing that I think that I have is Mr. Wood brought up a question about teacher preference at the last CAB meeting and allowing teachers who have children to maybe go to school where they teach at. And so the PPC, we tabled this topic until December. Once I have a discussion with Dr. Fields, and we would try to come up with some suggestions, because it may be that a teacher wants their child to go to another school, or it may be that the teacher works in elementary, but they may have a middle school or a high school student. So there's still some things that we'll need to discuss and formulate in order to come up with a policy that addresses teacher preference. Okay. Other than that, those were the things that we talked about in our PPC meeting on November the 9th, and we will have our December meeting on the 14th at 5:30 p.m.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Austin. We will move on to the classified PPC report from Ms. Jordan Eason.
Good evening. Thank you. I do want to take this short opportunity to also state that it was an honor to work with each and every one of the Community Advisory Board members. It's great getting to know all of you, and thank you so much for all of the hours that all of you put in beyond your work and your other commitments and your home life, and we just really appreciate you. So thank you for that. Not a huge report from the classified PPC. We are still continuing to work on our bylaws. One other major piece I wanted to point out is that you have before you the Section 8 classified PPC policies before you again tonight. I do want to report that the classified PPC committee has voted to approve these Section 8 policies before you again. The change in that group of policies was policy 8.43, the classified personnel use of the PPE. And I'm sure you have all seen that change, but just for the audience or anyone else, the addition was adding in information about disciplinary measures for a supervisor regarding the PPE, as disciplinary measures for the employee regarding failure to utilize or wear the PPE was already in the policy. And now there is also a section for supervisors to match that.
Does that include an action on the board at some point?
It does, as I understand, yes. And the last item I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention, we currently do not have any concerns from any of our classified PPC members. The classified PPC committee is still, I would say, getting off the ground and establishing itself. One of our classified PPC members, Miss Marilyn Hobson, she represents our secretaries. She recently, this past week, created a JOT form, and this is something that we're going to utilize within our committee and go live with our form. But basically, it's a communication tool for all of our classified employee groups to utilize to allow them the opportunity to quickly and efficiently express their concerns regarding any PPC classified meeting agenda items and or any other issues that need to be discussed. And what each of our representatives are going to do, they're going to send this JOT form out and explain more in detail how other classified employees can get information to us more efficiently and quickly. And it also provides us a way of having a tracking tool. So we're excited about that. And I believe that is all for me.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Eason. Mr. Poore had to step away for a moment, and Dr. Owa will come in and help move this agenda on. Dr. Owa, do you have anything you want to say right quick, or any introduction for yourself?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mason. Just good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you all, and hope that you're ready as we move towards the academic portions of the agenda. We hope that you're ready to hear some of the great updates that are in progress for our young people and for our staff, our educators and community. And that's all, Mr. Mason. If you're ready, we're ready to move towards the updates.
Okay, I guess we are ready. Let's move on.
We have the updates for our schools, Little Rock Hall, Steen Magnet High School, and Little Rock West High School of Innovation, Dr. Mark Roberts. The principal of Hall will present, and then Mrs. Karen Heatherly, the principal for Little Rock West, will then follow him with her presentation. And I know that both principals have representatives from their staff as well, and so they will introduce those educators as well. So Dr. Roberts, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Dr. Owa, and thank you, Mr. Mason and members of the Community Advisory Board. We got a lot of exciting news to share with you this evening as far as the work that we have done since we become a STEAM Magnet High School. This evening I have Assistant Principal Ms. April Reich with us, also Magnet Coordinator Mr. Joel Spencer. Mr. Kenny Stevens, Assistant Principal, is over at Southwest High School this evening at the basketball game with Southwest High School. Tonight, I'm going to introduce Mr. Joel Spencer, who has been leading the way on a lot of our initiatives here at Paul Steve Magnet High School, especially with the Ford NGL preparation at Hall and coordinating those efforts, as well as reaching out to a lot of our middle schools, some of our private schools, as far as the great work that we have been doing here at Hall Steve Magnet High School. And on that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Joel Spencer to share all that great information. Mr. Spencer.
Thank you very much. If you could, Pamela, Ms. Smith, could you let me share my screen? I have just a quick slideshow presentation to share.
right, Mr. Spitzer, you should be ready now.
All right, so I'm just going to share with you, basically for this presentation, I'm just going to share with you what we have been doing recruitment-wise, because that's been our real big push here for the last, I'd say 4 months that we've been working on. So just kind of sharing an update where we're standing on that right now. Our first area that we really pushed hard for, and a lot of you can attest to this, especially Dr. Owad and Mr. Poor and some of our community advisory members, we've had a real big social media push in the last 3 or 4 months. That was one thing that I've worked hard on, and I run those to get that up and running and get that out to many people as possible. So we have 3 accounts that we're active on: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're not following us, you need to. We are at Hall Magnet LRSD. So what I would suggest right now is pop over to your social media page and follow us, because you can see all the great things that are happening at Hall. You will see through our social media pages. We also, at one of our steering committee meetings, who was attended by a future parent that goes to has child at Forest Heights STEM, who's a marketing director, suggested that we develop a YouTube channel as well and push out videos. So we had developed a YouTube channel for our school, and we try to push out at least 1 or 2 videos a week. These videos have to usually do with things that are going on in the classroom, highlighting programs, highlighting staff, and so the public can see what exactly is going on here, and they can see exactly what the kids are doing. We did a little Facebook ad buy for our STEAM Day, and I'll talk a little bit about that we had on November 7th. And we also did a Facebook Live recruitment night. Me and Mr. Kenny Stevens, our AP, for our recruitment night. So, and if you look at analytics, I'm a numbers guy. I like to look at numbers. If you go through Twitter stuff and look at analytics, we have, and compared to all the other schools in the district, we have one of the most active social media accounts on Twitter. And I'm proud of that, because we get a lot of recognition for what we're doing out there just by people through our social media pages. We have, went a little too far. Like I said about our YouTube channel, it was created in October. Like I said, it was a suggestion from our steering committee meeting. Right now, we have about 10 or 12 videos on her that highlight programs and staff. We also have a longer, professionally done recruitment video that was on there. We will be doing a video next week, filming next week, that highlights our academies, which you'll hear more about later from some other individuals and what exactly we're doing with those. They're pushed out through social media as well. And we're going to continue this. We've had success with this. We have a lot of people who like this. We've gotten ideas from our steering committee meeting that we just had actually a couple of days ago. We do more videos highlighting staff, so they can see some of the staff members we have here, because due to COVID, it's hard to highlight your staff and things like that. So we're going to do some more videos highlighting our staff as well. Next on to middle school recruitment, which has been the busiest part of my job probably the last 3 weeks. So my first step was to make contacts with PTA. So I successfully made contacts with the PTAs at Pulaski Heights, Pinnacle View, Forest Heights, and also the Anthony School. Anthony School has been really excited about what we're doing over here, because those kids don't have a natural progression after 8th grade. And a lot of things they want to do over there at the 7th and 8th grade level with STEM is a lot of things that we're doing over here at the 9th through 12th grade level. So their principal has attended our steering committee meetings, along with their PTA president, and I actually presented at one of their PTA meetings as well. So the parents, we've gotten very positive feedback from parents at the Anthony School of what's going on over here. And it's real close to us, so it's almost like one of our neighborhood schools as well. Those 3 or 4 PTAs have also been great about posting stuff on their pages of things we are doing around our school. They post on their social media accounts. I'm in the process of scheduling the talk at Forest Heights and Pinnacle View's PTA meetings. I've reached out to both their presidents, and they're trying to get me on their agendas for either the November or December meetings. And also, we also sent for recruitment, we also sent information folders out to all the counseling departments at all the middle schools. They'll either get those today or some went out tomorrow, some went out today as well. And these are folders in case parents or students have information about Hall. These folders have information about it, about our proposed academies, some frequently asked questions, and just some things that we do here at Hall, some things about our esports program, which we have gotten positive feedback about. We actually had another win today, so our esports program is doing really good here at Hall. I think both of our teams are at 500, so one of our teams is ranked, I think, 20th in the state. So we're doing pretty good with esports. I also had a chance to do a Zoom session with some 8th grade science classes, about 180 kids total in the physical science classes, and you can see all the dates that I did them at those schools. Pinnacle View, we were actually able to go over in person and meet with that class, which was kind of fun getting out to schools and meet with them. We also did a Zoom session with all the 8th graders at Pinnacle View and Mableville. Those are the 2 schools that responded, and we were able to get those scheduled and get those done. I'm in the process right now of working with Henderson and Forest Heights. Those counselors have reached back out to me, getting something on the books real soon to talk with all those 8th grade classes as well through a Zoom session. We had a STEAM Day open house on Saturday, November 7th. We had about 10 to 15 kids come over a 3-hour period. We wanted to keep it small due to COVID, and we kept it spread out around the school, so parents and kids could come in and still feel safe with COVID. We were excited. Every child that came and their parents, which was a variety from Forest Heights, Horace Mann, and Pinnacle, basically those parents and kids left saying, we want to bring our child here next year. We like what you're doing. We like the programs that we're seeing here. We like the staff that we met. They were pleasantly surprised what was going on here at the school. We also done several tours for parents and students, and actually, surprisingly, a lot of the tours we have been doing have been from parents who are either A, private school students, or B, students who are being homeschooled that live 2 or 3 blocks away. So those are the parents who are looking at, that we've done tours for, who are thinking about sending their kids to Hall here next year. We also did a small little Facebook ad to promote the event to help us out as well. We have been doing, at the recommendation of Mr. Poore when we first started this, we've been doing community steering committee meetings. It was a little slow starting at the beginning in the spring due to COVID and everything that's going on. But we try to do these every 4 to 6 weeks is what we try to do. Sometimes with things going on, they go a bit longer, but we've done them in July, September, and November. We push this out through our social media pages. Our middle schools help us push these events out as well. And this is where the community members come and we let them know what's going on, but they're also able to provide feedback as well. And it's been positive. I mean, a lot of things that they have provided has helped us guide what we're doing. We usually get about 15 to 20 attendees per meeting. And also we thank for our first 2 meetings that the chamber was able to come out to and answer some of those questions about Ford NGL and about academies and how exactly that looks. So I want to thank James Reddish for attending those 2 meetings as well and being able to be that information for us. Like I said, we've been doing tours since last year. We've been doing tours at the request of parents. So we had 6 tours completed, I think, just this school year, which is pretty good considering what's going on with COVID. And like I said, a lot of those tours have come from the private schools and the homeschooling section. Facility upgrades. So this is something we've been working on, and I want to give a huge shout out to 2 people. One is Miss April Reich, who has been going around and I think we're up to almost over 500 requests for maintenance at our school. But I also want to give a huge shout out to LRSD Plant Services because they have worked nonstop. We've had painters in this building who just left, who were here for about 2 months, painting every classroom and every door and everything that we asked them to do here. They were here painting for us, baseboards and everything like that to get us up and running.
Mr. Spencer, I just want to say they have done phenomenal work. Persons that come in our building are just amazed at the changes that we have done here just based on that little facelift that the painters have done here in our building, and I just wanted to give them a shout out. So thank you so much.
Also, along with the plant services, we also had the labor crew here cleaning out, buildings that had furniture in it for 50 years, tables that are made of wood that were 50 or 40 years old that have had 3 legs on them. They came over with dumpsters and lots of gum on these tables, lots of DNA. We're excited about getting all this old stuff out, all this old tech out. I personally scanned about 1,100 items of old tech, and these are computers that were anywhere from 10 to 12 years old. Printers, VHS cameras that would sit on your shoulder, all this stuff that's been in this building that that needed to get out. And actually, tech over the last 2 days, they were able to get all that old tech out of our buildings. It took them 2 days to do it, about 2 truckloads to get all that out. So, I want to give a huge shout out to Plant Services for helping us out with that. We've also been working with MHP, Mangum Holcomb, and I'm not sure what the P stands for. I'm assuming partners, to work on a plan to help with a PR campaign for for Hallstein Magnet High School. You know, with COVID, it's hard. PR is hard right now. It's hard to go face to face, but we worked with them for the past month, developing visual and handouts, some billboard buys, some radio ad spots. And I want to thank Ms. Pamela Smith for helping out with that and guiding us along the way with that. So we're hoping to see those here, the final product of those here real shortly, so we can be ready for recruitment here in the next couple weeks. Other than that, I'm done with my presentation. If you have any questions, please let us know.
Okay. Do we have any questions from any of the board? Any questions?
Mr. Mason, if I could say something, I want to tell Mr. Spencer, yeah, very good job on the cleanup stuff and what you were talking about, the crew that was in there repainting things. I saw your video that you did, I guess it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, with the engineering focus that you were going to do, and they were in what's going to be the engineering hallway, and I couldn't even believe that you were in Hall High School. The background looked so good. It's a complete facelift what's going on there, so very good job on that. I want to pat you on the back for an out-of-the-box recruitment there going to the Anthony School. What a great idea. Very good. Thank you for the hard work y'all are putting in on recruitment. Don't let up on that. You know, everything is behind the 8 ball, it seems like, with COVID. And so I, you know, completely commend you for the extra hours you're burning doing that. So I'll say this, and this is, you know, I'm kind of reaching out to all the board members here. Mr. Spencer actually reached out to me right about 1 week ago and asked me to come over for a tour of Hall. I don't know if everyone else got that invitation. Probably they did, but I'm reaching out to everybody saying, why don't we all go over there and together take a tour of Hall? And Mr. Poor, is that something that maybe you and Ms. Smith could work on getting on the calendar and maybe the next 2 weeks ahead of the open enrollment period, so that board members can share with, you know, the people that listen to us about what's going on in the schools? They can listen to us talk about the amazing transformation that's happening over there.
Well,
go ahead. Well, I was also going to say, maybe not even limit it to this, but incoming board members that we know about now for the elected board, I think it would be very good to include them in that, so that they can, you know, from even before day one, start to get an appreciation for what a great transformation is happening. And they also can share with their sphere of influence about Hall and talk it up, because we gotta help them talk it up.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. And I guess I saw two things that were reactions from the Hall staff. Dr. Roberts started looking at his lips like, yeah, I can't wait. This is like exactly what I want. He's eating it up. And then Ms. Reich was waving you all in and saying, come on, come on. So, you know, I know that is exactly the intent that they'd like to have. So thank you, Mr. Wood, and we will coordinate that with Mr. Rutherford and Dr. Ola and myself to figure out a way to do that in a manageable way with both CAB members and new board members. Yep.
That's all. Good job. I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited about Hall. That it's fun to see the programs that y'all are embracing and the way you're promoting them and the energy that is starting to grow. And as people learn about it, they're in awe that that's going to be offered right here in Little Rock, and that Hall has the opportunity to lead in that way. So great job.
Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Yeah, and I want to say that Hall looks different than it did years ago. You know, my mom taught at Hall for so many years. So I just wanted to compliment you all on getting Hall back to 21st century, so to speak. All right. Do we need to move on to the West High School presentation? Little Rock West High School?
And I'll just wrap up at least with Hall, and I do want to give Dr. Roberts and his team a great deal of credit. And one of the things that I told Dr. Roberts as he kind of finished his hiring is he's got himself surrounded with what I would call rock stars and kid magnets and parent magnets, and and so it is a much different thing. And then you tie that in with Dr. Roberts, technical expertise with high reliability. We're in a good place. We just got to keep working at it. And of course, now the rubber hits the road. So board members, we would appreciate any support that you can give Dr. Roberts and his team. Word of mouth goes a long ways. It goes a long ways. Mr. Mason, are you okay if I shift over to our West School of Innovation?
Let me ask Dr. Roberts one question. What is the student capacity for Hall? Because it sounds like you might be running over in a couple of semesters.
What we're looking at is about 150 per class right now, and that would put us at about a 600 capacity school. If there's more, absolutely we'll take more, but there's a lot of other factors that come with that 600 capacity, and it's related to athletics, also with the different leagues we're in. If it's a 4A, 5A type of league, depending upon the capacity of students, etc. Plus, we're also going to be branching out, like Mr. Spencer said. We're going to be expanding in our esports program and other activities for students that are going to be involved not just regionally, but also we've been told nationally internationally by some of the teachers that'll be coming in with some of the pathway programs. So it's about 150 per class, about 600 we're looking at as comfortable max, but like I said, we'll take more if need be.
Well, thank you for your hard work, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Ford, we're ready to move.
Yeah, I'll move into West School of Innovation, and probably Randy would want to arm wrestle me, Mr. Rutherford, on this, because we take a great deal of pride in what Ms. Heatherly has done in her short time as being the principal. You might remember that she was a part of the initial staff of Pinnacle View Middle School, then left us to go to Benton. And then we brought her back last year, and we're fortunate enough to have her come in right about when the pandemic hit. So it was about March or April that she actually began her work. And her initial numbers, folks, and I don't know if she's going to share this, so I may be letting the cat out of the bag, but her initial numbers had dropped in terms of student registration, everything from where we were at 60 down to about low 40s, if I remember correctly, Mr. Rutherford. And now what's happened is that she's actually going into this year, in that short span of 4 months, turned it so that she doubled the number at the school. So we're around 125 to 130 kids this year that she did in March and April, after we'd already gone through everything. So I set the stage that way, turn it over to Ms. Heatherly, and just compliment her, and I'll let you go, Ms. Heatherly. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. And I want to take this opportunity. I also want to thank the CAB, because I know that you work tirelessly. You have your own jobs and your own families, but everything you do to help our students and our families, and we can't say enough how much that we thank you guys and appreciate the work that you do. Also, Mr. Poore, we really appreciate your leadership and your confidence in us, because we're really working hard to try to promote our school and build our school into something special. And I think we can. We promote ourselves really as the best kept secret in Little Rock, because so many people still, they don't know who we are. And, every day we'll get calls and they'll say, tell us about you, because we didn't really know who we just heard about you. We don't know who you are. And so, we've got a great little school out here. And like Mr. Poore said, when I came in March, I actually started March 1st. And March 13th, we all got shut down. And so it was kind of hard going. But, in those short 2 weeks that I was here, the kids took a lot of pride into picking new school colors and picking a new mascot. And they were really excited, about where we were headed. And I have to give my staff a lot of accolades for really, being the excitement behind getting us moving forward. I want to say Deborah Caldwell, she's someone who came on with us at Pinnacle View from the very beginning as an art teacher, and she's over here now. Her roots are as a high school art teacher, and she has taken on. I'm sorry, my lights are going off. The lights are going off. But anyway, she has taken on the Freshman Academy role along with being an art teacher, and she is doing a phenomenal job. And Rebecca Bailey, she came with us, and she's our Spanish teacher, but she's also doing college and career readiness. And you know, when I came on, I looked at our School of Innovation application, because I had not, I had been on the initial groundwork of it, but I had not looked at it since it had gotten submitted. You know, and one thing it mentioned in there was that we would have a college and career coach for every student from the time they hit us as ninth graders to seniors. And so Rebecca Bailey really embraced that. And we've got a strong program now, and we're really excited about having career academies, because I feel like that gives us a true identity. You know, before, you know, we're such a special little place. You know, we like to call us a little specialty school because you know, we're being very, very creative in our scheduling. And, you know, we have students like, you know, the other high schools that are totally virtual, and we have students that are totally traditional and online. But we also now, we are offering a blended option, and we're having a growing population of students who are coming to us. You know, they may not, you know, their parents aren't comfortable with them being here all week long. And so they're coming 2 to 3 days a week, and then the rest of the week they're virtual, and that's really working well for them. And so, you know, as we promote ourselves, we're promoting ourselves as a school where we will really customize learning to what you need. And so to kind of piggyback on what we've been doing, you know, I've spent a lot of time over at the middle school, and I've spoken to all of their career classes over there, and their speech classes. And Miss Lewis, our counselor, who we share with Pinnacle View, we spend a lot of time talking to those kids and learning about what their interests are, to kind of help us, you know, to help us plan our career pathways, and sharing with them what our school is going to look like as we go forward, and sharing with them and their families, you know, that, you know, we have limited seats available. We can only hold 100 seats per grade. That's all our building can hold. And so, you know, we spent a lot of time over the middle school, and we actually had every one of the students have been in our building. So we've given tours to every one of the 8th grade students over there, and they're fascinated and about who we are and where we're going. We've also shared many presentations with all the other middle schools, because even though we are zoned, you know, Pinnacle View is our zone. You know, we can welcome students from other middle schools, you know, as long as they provide their own transportation. And we actually do have several students right now that are coming to us that aren't zoned for us, but the parents, you know, trusted us and chose us as where they would like to send their students. So, you know, we're really, really excited, and we're working hard. We'd say we're a grassroots, we're promoting, you know, we have a grassroots effort, because, you know, we don't have big budgets and to advertise with. So we do it all in house, and we do it all on our own. And we have a strong Facebook page. You know, we get over 1,400 views, you know, a month. We're working on Twitter. It's getting, you know, it's getting a little bit stronger. Like I said, we've sent out videos and flyers to all the middle schools and sent them out to parents. And so I feel like we're getting a lot of attention, because like I said, the last few weeks I'm getting multiple phone calls a week. I talk to parents, and they're asking, how do they save their seat? So we've got a kind of a list going, and I assured them, you know, they'll learn more about open enrollment coming up starting November 30th, and I will be sure to remind them so we can get them going. But we feel extremely confident that we can fill those 100 seats in the 9th grade next year, you know, to put us well over 200 next year. And we're super excited about that. We're super excited just about growing. You know, when I came last March, it was just it was fast and furious. I want to thank Kevin Yarberry and Jeff Wood and Mr. Poor, because when I came on, you know, and it may sound like a little thing, and if you haven't been out here, you need to come out here and visit with us, because when I came on, our fountain wasn't working, and I said, you know, I'm not asking for a lot of special treatment, but what I am asking for is kind of, you know, the building to look like we're taking pride in it again, and to get things going. So, you know, the fountain's going, you know, we like to call it Dragon Fountain, and saying that it's flowing again, and it just, there's a really good energy in our high school right now, and we're really super excited. We want to add some things in the future. You know, I don't know where it's going to go as far as, you know, team sports and athletics and esports, you know, but because we do have a good connection with Hall. We really do. We're working with Hall, and a lot of our students go to Hall to play sports and esports. But, you know, a lot of our students have expressed interest that they'd like to play for their own school. So I said, we're going to see how this goes in the future, you know, just for some little team sports. but like I said, they're excited and they're proud. They're proud of their school, and I think that that's a big step for Little Rock West. Is just for them to have something out here they can really be proud of.
I was reading over your information, the veterinary sciences.
Yes.
That was very interesting to me because my daughter is majoring in animal science at Tuskegee University. So
I love it.
So that looks good for the
I think
county.
so, you know, and we worked with Miss Montgomery, you know, because she's leading the Ford NGL, and I said, you know, we're small, and so we're not going to have, you know, 4 academies or 3 academies. You know, we basically have 1 academy with several career pathways. But I said, you know, we've got a teacher who her background is animal science and plant science. And I talked to Miss Montgomery, and I said, you know, is anybody else offering this? And she said, no, nobody kind of wants to touch it. And I said, well, we'll do it, you know. I said, you know, that's kind of, we like to take leaps of faith, and we like to be creative, and we want to do things differently. And so we're really excited about that pathway.
That's great. That's great.
Hey, Mr. Mason, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in and talk about Ms. Heatherly real quick as well, because she faced quite an uphill battle. I mean, when you think about the time period when she came on board, and immediately we were hit by COVID, and now, but I want to praise her as well. She's done a fantastic job of getting kids that we would not have gotten, I'll just say that, into West, and she's done a good job. And for those of you that haven't seen the mascot, I think you need to mention that too, Miss Headley, and let them know what the mascot is, like what the school colors are. Give you a minute to finish praising you first, and then I'll let you go. But the other thing is, I want the cab to know is, when we were having large discussions about virtual and virtual school possibilities and that stuff with kids, one thing that West does offer us a potential opportunity for in the future is to take on that actual virtual for those kids that really are liking it, and parents that really love it, even when we finally get back to some sense of normalcy. And Ms. Headley's agreed all along to add that to her plate as well. And so it's not something that's up right now. I want to be clear there, but I just want y'all to know what a team player Ms. Headley is, not only for West, but also for the district and for our kids and families. Because again, some kids and some parents really are enjoying the virtual, and to be quite honest with you, that may be something we need to look at in the future. But now, Ms. Heatherly, tell them the mascot and tell them the school colors.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, we went from being Pinnacle View High School that was blue and white to being Little Rock West High School of Innovation, and we're the Dragons. And I'm telling you, and we are red and black and gray, and the kids are loving it. They picked it, and they were super excited because I have a lot of gamers. You know, a lot of our font is Game of Thrones font that we use, and but they're super excited to be the Dragons because there's just not any other around. They want to be something different. And so we like to say that we're breathing new fire into education out here in Little Rock West, and that's what we're doing.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mason, if I could say that the logo looks amazing too. It's a great looking logo that they have. And Mr. Rutherford really took the words right out of my mouth of something I wanted to say about what West High School of Innovation is offering, and that for all the bad that COVID brought on us and the frustrations, the one thing that it may leave with us is the appetite of parents and students to have that virtual experience, or if not 100%, a blended virtual experience. And that's something I noticed when I got to go tour the facility back in, I think it was August or so, right before school started. The opportunity that they have to be flexible and to meet the needs of families that would be looking for that unique experience. And so that's something that as community members are whether you're a parent now or whether you just know somebody that's talking about high school, and that when you hear people say, you know what, I mean, we don't hate this virtual thing. I kind of like having the kids around, whatever. My kids kind of like staying home. It's a good thing to be able to say, well, you know what, we have a high school that can probably accomplish that for your family if y'all want to be a part of that. So it's a great place for us to direct people to that option. So I'm glad that we have that, and it's almost like it was already built into the DNA of the school before it became a necessity. And so it really is remarkable what you were able to do there, Ms. Heatherly, with in such a short time, and to recruit the students that you did recruit, and I'm quite impressed. Hats off to you and all the hard work you're doing. I know you're doing a lot of hard work there. We do. We have to support this school a little stronger. We do have to move it, in my opinion, and I realize I'm just one of several opinions, but we do need them to be able to have some more traditional experiences so that they can attract students who like the idea of the virtual, who like the idea of the blended, or even the specialized programming that they may get there, but might also like to have a Friday night football game to go to cheer on the Dragons, or a Friday night basketball game in the winter to cheer on the Dragons. And so that's what many high school students want, even if they're not necessarily athletes themselves. The community, the social aspect of going to the gym and buying some popcorn and cheering for your buddies in class to do well. That's so much part of what kids want in high school, and I really hope that as an elected board takes the reins of the district here soon, that there will be an appreciation that support needs to be given to West, so that we can get them there, and students can have a lot of options. But I'm very thankful for all you've done, Ms. Heatherly. It's quite remarkable, and I'm here for you any way I can be. And the fountain, oh my goodness, yes, brought life to that building. When I toured it, it night and day difference just having water running in the building. It's crazy, when you have a fountain that's turned off, it's not nearly the same presence as when you have a fountain that's flowing and going. It changed the building dramatically.
It does. It changes the feeling of it, and we really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Mrs. Heather.
Thank you.
All right. Do we move on to our next item on the agenda?
Yeah, just Mr. Mason, I just want to make sure we don't inhibit any other board members if there's any other comments before we move.
Yeah, you got to slow me down, Mr. Poor.
Where have you been, Mike? We needed you running these meetings for 4 years.
I'll let you lead the agenda. So
okay, I'm not going to comment on Mr. Wood's comment because he will be a future boss as a board member, so I will refrain. I do want to mention one more thing about Ms. Heatherly, and Ms. Heatherly, maybe you could put this into the chat for board members to then copy and paste. But you have a YouTube video that was a part of the PowerPoint presentation that was there. Maybe that could be put into the chat, and then I'm sure Ms. Smith will promote it as well and push it out so that you get that bang of the good work that your school's doing. And my final comment on that school is I want to compliment Ms. Heatherly, as was previously shared, about moving forward in Ford NGL and saying I want to have a piece of this too, and coming up with a niche. I just think it's awesome because it means that our whole district is finding a way to move forward on Ford NGL. So thank you, Mr. Mason, and we probably can shift to the next topic if you're okay.
I'm fine with it. Any other board member would like to have a comment regarding Little Rock West High School? All right, we'll move on to Jay Fair, K-8 implement.
Thank you, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to actually take this in a little bit different way to begin with, and I want to give a tribute to a man that the school is named after. Dr. Fair died this week, and so he's an individual that was a lasting impact in our district and a lasting impact in our community. And I'd just like to read a few words and then have a short moment of silence to honor him and his legacy. Dr. Fair was born in Okolona, I hope I'm saying that right, Arkansas. And this was in July 11th of 1925, and he passed this week on November 15th. He was the youngest of 10 children. This is an individual that served in World War II in the U.S. Army. As a part of being in the Army, he won the Combat Infantry Badge He won the Bronze Star Medal for Valor in the Philippines campaign, and he also won the Purple Heart Medal. Prior to his 20th birthday, he was selected as one of 175 combat veterans to serve in the original General MacArthur Honor Guard unit at Luzon and in Tokyo. He was the only Arkansan to get that designation, and he was the last survivor of that group of military leaders. He was married to the former Mary Grady, and they had quite a family, which I'll get to in just a minute. Fair began his career after he went to college on a GI loan. And guess what? By the time he graduated from college, he became an elementary principal right off the bat and served in Fairview Elementary School in Texarkana, Arkansas, from 1948 to 1954. He then moved to Little Rock School District and was there for 24 years and served as the Jefferson Elementary School principal, as the assistant superintendent, as the deputy superintendent, and ultimately the superintendent of Little Rock Schools. And I believe he was the superintendent from 1971 or 72 to 78, so almost 6 years. When he left us in 1978, he went on to become a college professor and worked at both the University of Arkansas and also Louisiana Tech University. He also became the head of the Arkansas Retired Association. He did that for a very short span, but he was on the board for the Arkansas Teacher Retirement System for 6 years in supporting our state. Beyond school and beyond college environments, he was also the president of the Little Rock Civitan Club. He was a former Paul Harris Fellow with the Rotary. He was a member of the Masonic Order and a Master Mason since 1953. He was a part of that organization for over 40 years. His immediate family, again, included his wife, Marie, who he married in 1946. He had a son, James Richard Fair, who lives in Madison, Wisconsin, a daughter, Melinda Fair, who lives in Little Rock. There are 5 grandchildren: Amanda Fair, Aaron Lorenzen, Matthew Fair, Casey Lorenzen, Sky Cardwell, and 2 grandchildren, Ben and Lily Lorenzen. He was an active member of the St. Paul United Methodist Church in Little Rock and was a part of that church environment since 1955. If we could all just take 1 minute of silence in memory of his legacy. Thank you. I thought that it's kind of amazing. Sometimes things work in mysterious ways, don't they? That the night that we're bringing Jay Fair in to discuss and to continue to utilize that facility, one of our best facilities, and to keep it moving forward and to move forward on the K-8. And this is the week that Dr. Fair passed. As all of you hopefully remember and know, the work that we're talking about tonight is not something that's just a report that just sits and it's done. It's a living report. We also need to remember that this is something that's been in motion. And again, the CAB members that have been a part of really all 5 years of thinking about how we come up with our blueprint of utilizing resources, utilizing our facilities to get the very most for our children. You know, many times people think about the consolidation or changes in school trajectory and think, oh, this is all based on saving $1. But what I think you're going to hear tonight is no, the most primary mission that we always have is what we go do to make sure that we do the very best for young people so that they're prepared for their future and their transitions. And this is an educational model that I hope that you will continue to believe in, and that you'll continue to believe in the transition plan that we've got. Many of you suggested several years ago when this all began, say, well, as Sadie retires, you got to use her. And I go, well, that makes sense because Sadie Mitchell is a talent. Dr. Mitchell is an individual that has had a lot of experience in creating a blueprint for a very specific thing. She was instrumental in creating the K-8 at Forest Heights, and she has been a real value to us in this district as we work now this fall to move forward on an implementation plan. Dr. Owa has been kind of her planning partner, but her other partners in crime are Melinda Mordecai and Michael Anthony, okay? And those two principals are dynamic individuals, and we're glad that they're on tonight as well. And I'm going to turn over to Dr. Mitchell before I steal any more of her words, which I'm so well known for.
Thank you, Mr. Poore, and thank you for the opportunity to work on this project. And I also want to thank Dr. Owak for kind of being my listening ear and guiding me along the way, since he had been a principal at J.A. Fair, so he knows a lot about the building, and he was a great resource, you know, helping me out. I too would like to thank all the CAB members for your service, and thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. And I am so excited about the opportunity for another K-8 school in the Little Rock School District. And as Pam put my PowerPoint up, Mr. Poore already said a little bit about the blueprint plan, but I wanted to share this with you because there are some people in the listening audience out there who may not know how far back we have been planning this. So in November of 2018, the Little Rock School District gathered community ideas, recommendations, and concerns about school learning environments, choices, and improvements to serve as the foundation for a facilities master plan that became a roadmap called the Little Rock School District Community Blueprint. And there were three big goals. It was to improve the learning environment, expand choice and amenities, and boost staff salaries. The criteria that you see on the screen now lists the criteria that was used for that strategic planning. And those included improving the learning environments and student safety, to save resources for other positive use, address parent needs and requests, and minimize that transportation and decrease student travel time. The other strategic priorities include improving the city's economic vitality and increasing diversity in the schools, attracting students, and being more competitive. Last year, the first phase of the plan was implemented. Rockefeller K-5 moved to Washington, allowing space to expand the pre-K program at Rockefeller. We added the 9th grade at Pinnacle View. J.A. Fair and McClellan students moved to the new Southwest High School, and the Hall School received the program enhancements that you've heard about tonight. All of this was a part of the blueprint planning. I want to also share with you on our next slide, the focus for the Little Rock School District Community Blueprint for the 2021 school year is to create a K-8 middle school on the campus of the J.A. Fair High School, to create an early childhood center on the Romine Elementary School campus, complete upgrades on the Fair High School campus to make the school appropriate for a K-8 middle school, complete the upgrades on the Romine Elementary campus to meet the needs of the daycare licensing requirements, and to conduct a usage study for the Henderson Middle and the Dodd Elementary School facilities. Next slide, Ms. Pam. Included in the document that I shared with you, you will find a historical perspective for each school that would be impacted. And there will be a picture of the schools, when the school was built, the October 1 enrollment, the present enrollment, and the school improvement status. The students from Dodd and Henderson were moved to Fair, creating an environment for a K-8 school. As of October 2019, there were 185 students enrolled at Dodd with a capacity of 253 students. At Romine, the enrollment was 180 students with a capacity of 220 students, and Henderson had 497 students with a capacity of 960. So you may be asking yourself, why another K-8 school? well, there's an abundance of research and articles on the K-8 schools, and I have embedded 2 of the hundreds of articles out there that support the K-8 concept, mainly because I visited all these districts that I'm going to talk to you about in past years. So the first article, and you can read this on your own, but I just kind of want to sum up quickly. It's why we should shift to K-8 schools from the educational leadership article. The research shows school district leaders in Milwaukee, Baltimore, and Philadelphia that verified anecdotal observations through research, convincing them to accelerate a shift to K-8 models in their district. When we were, prior to us looking at the K-8 at Forest Heights Middle School, one of the previous curriculum directors and I had an opportunity to visit the K-8 process in Milwaukee. We went to Baltimore, and we also went to Philadelphia. And in Milwaukee, I just kind of wanted to follow up to see how those school districts were doing with their K-8s. And in Milwaukee, studies showed that the researchers found that the students in the K-8 schools had higher academic achievements as measured by both grade point averages and standardized test scores, especially in math. In the Baltimore study, the researchers found that the students in the K-8 schools scored much higher than their middle school counterparts on standardized test measurements in reading, language arts, and math. In the Philadelphia study, the analysis showed that the students in the K-8 schools had higher academic achievement than those in the middle schools, and that academic gains surpassed those of the middle school students in reading, science, and in other areas. The other article talks about the revival of K-8 schools. And I'll just sum this one up quickly to you. Cleveland, Ohio transformed 25 middle schools to K-8. Cincinnati Public Schools completed its first 5-year transition to K-8 schools. And Philadelphia converted to K-8 schools based on a study that showed K-8 schools significantly scored higher than middle schools. And Fayetteville, Tennessee converted K-8 schools successfully. And when I visited the Baltimore School District, they were implementing a major school reorganization plan, which doubled the K-8 schools to 34 over a period of 3 years. They now also have K-8 schools in Oklahoma City. I now want to talk to you about that huge success story that we have in the Little Rock School District, and that is the Forest Heights Middle School. When we were trying to decide on a K-8 model for Forest Heights Middle School, a team of us went to visit Annie Fisher K-8 Magnet School in Hartford, Connecticut, which Forest Heights was modeled after. Now, I've been keeping up with the progress at Forest Heights, and I tell you, they are doing some outstanding things over there. And I wanted to share with you the positive aspects from the principal, Miss Amy Cooper. Number one, they have a vertical alignment between elementary and the middle schools. And this means that the staff and the parents have benefited from seeing how the curriculum aligns from kindergarten to 8th grade. Observations of student development socially, they've been able to see how the children grow from K-8 socially and academically. There's a sense of community there. Many of the families have been there since the inception of the school for 9 years. They have built the community over in that building. The middle school students, they mentor the elementary kids, and the elementary children enjoy seeing them come over. Teacher capacity and leadership. The teachers are able to grow professionally, learning about different grade levels and curriculum. And then they have the main piece that we always want to talk about, that consistent parent involvement. So when parents we hear about parents really being involved on the elementary level, and then they kind of die off on the middle school level. But what is happening in the K-8 school, and especially at Forest Heights, the parents are starting off in the elementary school and they're not going anywhere. They are very actively involved on the middle school level. So I want to talk to you about the community and parent involvement that we have been involved with. So in the fall of 2018, we were attending all of these design sessions and continued with the phase 1 of the plan last year. And I was really honored to attend all of those sessions. Henderson, Dodd, and Romine started the process of communicating with parents in the fall of 2019, but the project was put on hold. And so we fast forward to 2020, we picked up where we left off a few weeks ago, and the schools have organized their school level advisory committees. The purpose of the school level advisory committee is to allow representatives from the school leaders, the parents, the teachers, and partners to plan and collaborate together about the transition that they are about to be involved in. We followed this same process at Forest Heights K-8 Academy. We were in the process of scheduling the parent Zoom meetings 2 weeks ago, and of course we had to reschedule them on the dates that you see here on this slide. And we also scheduled an additional meeting on December 1st to accommodate our Spanish-speaking students. And I'm going to come back to the parent involvement as soon as I finish these slides. And I want the building principals to talk about what they have been doing in their buildings. If you look at the enrollment here, I spent a great deal of time with student registration and Dr. Fields, and he may be out there somewhere in virtual land and want to comment later on. But their K-8 will be comprised of the rising 6th grade classes from Bell, Brady, McDermott, and Western Hills. Each of the aforementioned will maintain their current LEA and attendance zones for those elementary schools, but there are 2 other schools that the entire school will move over to J.A. Fair, and that's Dodd and Romine. And both sites will be repurposed by the Little Rock School District Administration. Fair's present capacity is 1,075 students. If all students who reside in the original Henderson school zones were to attend the K-8, the enrollment would be 1,109. Dr. Fields has assured me that with past history about the rising 6th graders, that many of them may opt to go to a magnet school or some other choice. So we won't really reach that 1,109, but those seats are there in case we need them. There are 332 6th grade students that will be assigned to Fair, which includes the 56 current 5th graders from Romine and Dodd, added to the rising 6th grade students from Bell, McDermott, Western Hills, and Brady. In your packet, I have included, the next slide, Ms. Pam, a timeline. There are many tentacles and tasks that have to be accomplished in order to create a K-8 environment and the Early Childhood Center at Romine. Now, as you can see in the packet, when you look at it, if you've already looked at it, or you may want to look at it later on, that we have a logistics committee, much like we had at the Forest Heights STEM Academy, who have been ready to accommodate the schools as they make a successful transition. There's a human resources timeline with everything that will have to be done from that department in order to, and that's just a first draft because it may change, in order for us to staff that building and accommodate the enrollment. So I want to talk just really briefly about what we are thinking to make Mr. Fair very proud of this school as we try to revitalize it and create this K-8 setting there. So J.A. Fair K-8 Middle School will follow the Little Rock School District's approved curriculum that has been created for kindergarten through 8th grade. In addition to following the district's rigorous curriculum, students will also engage in a formative learning experience called Project Lead the Way. The launch is for the elementary school, and the Project Lead the Way Gateway will be for the middle school. Now, the Project Lead the Way creates an engaging, hands-on classroom environment and empowers students to develop and get knowledge and skills that they would need to thrive. But the good thing about having the Project Lead the Way is that the learning experience at this school will equip and prepare the kids to transition to the Southwest High School to continue the Project Lead the Way engineering and in the biomedical and the robotic services. It will also get them prepped so that when they go to Hall High School, they will be fully prepared to engage in all the programs that you heard about this evening. The project Lead the Way Launch for the K-5 is designed for kindergarten through 5th grade. Students will become problem solvers and be fully engaged in the STEM knowledge. And the project Lead the Way Gateway, which will be for 6th through 8th graders, these topics will cover like robotics, flight and space, and DNA and crime scene analysis. The middle school students will engage with their natural curiosity to be very creative. And I know this is going to be exciting for the children who will be going to that school. Another program that we'll emphasize there is called The Leader in Me, and that will be for the K-8. The Leader in Me is a whole school transformation model. And the process is developed to create partnerships with educators that empowers the students to be leaders. It is a transformation process that's different from any other school, and it offers a holistic school-wide experience. The Little Rock School District implemented the Leader in Me at Chicot Elementary School in 2018-19, and it was very successful. It's also being implemented at McDermott and Watson. And so we feel like this would be perfect for a new school that's opening to create a positive culture. They will have a JAG program there. That's JAG stands for Jobs for Arkansas Graduates. The middle schools will participate in this, and it's for the 7th and 8th graders. It's a skills-focused program that exposes students to life skills, and it will also give them an opportunity to have a service learning project. And I'm really excited about this opportunity for middle schools to start very early. Both principals have been very engaged in creating opportunities for children to participate in different clubs at the schools. For example, the girls will have a STEMette club. And so they are just building this program right now, but we're really, really excited about what's going to be happening there. We've just kind of started, but we've done a lot in the last few weeks. I want to talk to you about the next slide, which is a facility assessment. What does it look like at FAIR? What has to happen there to make this a tremendous K-8 school? You know, Romine will be the 6th early childhood center in the district. The pre-K classrooms that would be at Bell, Western Hills, Dodd, and Brady will be moved to Romine to create the 8 classrooms for the new ECC that will be there. Those kids at Romine now will also be going over to JA Fair. And over the course of the last 3 to 4 weeks, the co-principal, Michael Anthony, and Melinda Monaco and myself, we have gone through every single classroom and space at FAIR and determined what facility recommendations need to be made to accommodate the K-8 students. And the same has been done at Romine by the principal, Mr. Tyrone Harris, the ECC director, and representatives from the daycare licensing at the state level. And Romine is going to be the perfect building for an ECC because there's not much work, renovation that we'll need to do over there. But in addition to these recommendations, I have also toured Henderson, Romine, and Dodd and gone through every single classroom and determined what furniture we can move and utilize so that we, you know, put a strain on the district's budget. The facility upgrade recommendations in your packet that you have now that's not the most recent ones. We just finished completing an Excel spreadsheet. It's by classroom, by space, by room, with everything that would need to be done and renovated in that building. And we've turned those into the appropriate staff at central office. From these recommendations, the development of a budget can be created. You know, these schools are just going to be wonderful. There are maps of the Romine school in the packet and the FAIR packet. As a parent, I want to say this. I would feel perfectly safe with my elementary child on the same campus with middle level children. I know that this was one of the main concerns of parents at Forest Heights Middle School, but we made it through that. And I tell you, the elementary and middle school, they're building a great team. First of all, we have two outstanding leaders who are going to build a safe haven for children at J.A. Fair. And then second of all, I want to share with you that the elementary classes and school will be on the south end of the building. If you're looking at that map, the middle school will be on the north side. And what's separating the two schools would be two cafeterias, a hallway, and a library. So the two principals have really been doing an outstanding job together, collaborating and going through the school, trying to determine what will be where. And we are really getting ready to spend more time trying to enhance the program. We really just kind of started, but we've gotten a lot done. Lastly, I want to share with you that the district, we're about 3 months ahead of schedule with where we were with Forest Heights STEM Academy. Forest Heights was not approved until the end of February in 2013-14. And we had to move at a very rapid pace to get that school open by August. So I'm excited that we are 3 months ahead of schedule right now with FAIR. And I do want to give the three administrators an opportunity, Ms. Monica, to talk about what's been going on with parental involvement at her school. And Mr. Anthony is out there in virtual land too, and Mr. Harris from over at Romine Elementary School.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Owa, for all of your guidance. The first thing that we did was create our DOD advisory board, and that advisory board is comprised of teachers, support staff, as well as parents. We've met and talked about all the possibilities of the new K-8 school. One of the things that parents, I just want to talk about what they are saying, and the positive aspect was that their students will have, their child will have seamless instruction from kindergarten to 8th grade with people that they know. And another thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a community meeting on November 24th, where all of our parents can come together and ask those questions, those burning questions that they may have. And Mr. Anthony and I know we will be able to reassure them and show them that their child will be safe and they will thrive in this type of environment. And we are so excited. I'm so excited to work with my brother, Mr. Anthony, in the coming years.
Thank you.
Mr. Anthony.
Good evening. Yes, ma'am. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for the commitment and the hard work that the Cabinet Civic Advisory Board have done for the commitment to our kids, the support to our staff, definitely on behalf of Henderson and Little Rock School District students. Basically, a lot of the things that were shared with Dr. Mitchell, as well as Ms. Monica, I don't want to go in a lot because it's pretty much the same. In addition to what Ms. Monica talked about in terms of safety and assurance, we've actually had parents that are very excited about being able to have middle school siblings on the same campus with their younger siblings, as it is very convenient for them in terms of transitioning and accommodating. But I want to talk a little bit about our transitional team and the efforts that we have put into soliciting parental input. Henderson Middle School is currently seeking community stakeholders' input, recommendations, concerns regarding the district's proposal to repurpose J.A. Fair facility into an integrated learning environment consisting of Henderson, Romine, and Dodd, with emphasis on improved academic environment as well as enhanced parental choices. We've had collaborative conversations to take place basically around 6 weeks ago to initiate the ongoing efforts outlined in the district blueprint. So our parents and our community stakeholders are very, very excited. And I think one of the big questions that a lot of our stakeholders, especially our kids, are asking is it really going to take place? As you know, that this was temporarily put on hold in 2019 when we started the initial conversations. However, we reiterated those conversations during our open house, our Check Us Out tours, as we got news that we were going to forge ahead with the transitional process that, you know, was outlined in our blueprint. We were scheduled to talk about it during our literacy and math night. However, you all may or may not know that we are just resumed classes on site as we were out due to an outbreak among some staff members in quarantine. So we've had to reschedule that. On November 23rd, we will have our community informational meeting, and we'll continue to talk about those things. Our kids are very excited. We've really been promoting this since day one. They have really, really stuck their chest out about having an opportunity to be one of the only schools that actually have high school facilities in terms of sports complex. And I want to piggyback something that Mr. Woods says. We know that athletics and extracurricular activities is the fabric of any school culture, but I think we really, really can take pride and take stock in the hands-based learning experiences that J.A. Fair will offer for our students, and particularly emphasis to the emerging ESL population that Henderson and I think, you know, Roman and Dodd is experiencing. So we're very excited. Our transitional team consists of community board members, parents, key stakeholders.
Mr. Harris.
Good evening. I'd also like to join everyone in thanking the CAB and Mr. Poor and his team for the support and guidance and the leadership. In working with Dr. Mitchell, Ms. Jones, Ms. Monica, and Mr. Anthony in this process, it's been a great opportunity for us to look at possibilities. And so when you look at marrying the K-8 Academy, I only see a lot of positive possibilities for our students and just the collaboration that will take place with the students. With my advisory committee, we've met. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of discussion. There is some hesitance. Just will this occur? How will we transition? You know, what will work well with the students? So we've already started working the 3 schools, myself, Dodd, and Henderson, trying to create opportunities for us to get the students together. And of course, the pandemic has put a hold on a lot of that. But we are trying to create some virtual opportunities. I've had an opportunity for my staff to do some professional development with Dodd. So I think as far as trying to build those relationships, then that's a positive. I would also say that we're excited for the Early Childhood Center at Romine because the design of the building is just a natural design for the population that Dr. Mitchell said we would be servicing. So we've got it set up, and walking with Dr. Mitchell, with Ms. Jones, and with my advisory committee, we've identified that we have a wing set up for our infants, a wing for the toddlers, and then our 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds will also have their own wing. And so as Dr. Mitchell mentioned in her presentation, we did not identify that there's a lot of renovation that will need to take place. Of course, there are some upgrades, but as a whole, Romine is already set that we can transition in as far as the early childhood, and then working with Dodd and Henderson, making sure that our K-5 students are taken care of.
Thank you.
And Dr. Mitchell, may I interject one more thing? I would just like to share that, you know, the transitional team at Henderson, we were aware as we went back and we reviewed the initial findings from the survey that was taking place in our blueprint. And so we have resurfaced those questions and concerns to see if there are still concerns out there in terms of safety among integrating, the two levels of transportation, how attendance will be zoned. So we're currently in the process of implementing a survey and compiling that data to find out if those are still some of the same concerns. And once we realize if those are still some of those concerns, trying to, get the information out there to, answer any questions or to really make sure that our parents and our community stakeholders involved have some input to the questions and suggestions that they had.
I want to thank Dr. Mitchell and our principals this evening for this report. Mr. Mason and members of the CAB, obviously this is an action item. I don't want to push forward, a motion, but you obviously will get to ask questions, and I did want to remind you that at some point we're in hope of an action item, and the action item, as stated, really just says that we continue to move forward with the implementation plan for the 2021-22 school year. So meaning next August, we would actually start this K-8 delivery and also start to have a pre-K at Romine. And Mr. Mason, I'll turn it back over to you to generate discussion and comment with the members of the CAB.
First of all, let me thank those principals. And Dr. Mitchell, are you back with us now, or?
I'm back part-time.
Well, we are happy that you are back to help us out. And I'm looking for those motions. But I also want to thank Mr. Poor. You don't recognize this, and you probably don't know, and I'm going to say this, but Mr. Harris was the principal at Martin Luther King. He took care of one of my daughters, and Mr. Anthony took care of another daughter at J.A. Fair. So I am very proud to acknowledge them for their tenure and the jobs that they've done. And I feel very comfortable about J.A. Fair being K-8, because I know Mr. Harris will take care of Romine with the Early Childhood Center, and I know Mr. Anthony will take care of J.A. Fair like he has in the past. So, and also Ms. Monica. So I appreciate you all with your presentation. Do we have any discussion from the board regarding the presentation?
Oh, I had a question.
Go ahead.
I was interested in knowing more about the Project Lead the Way Lunch and Project Lead the Way Gateway. So will the teachers be trained in some capacity to carry out the activities that go under these programs?
Absolutely, they will be trained. I felt like I was getting a little long, so I was trying to rush through, but I failed to tell you that we did apply for a grant for Project Lead the Way, and we have already identified, besides the grant, we've identified resources where teachers will have to come back early, and they will have to go through a very rigorous training prior to them going back to school. And so that will be in our budget, but we have identified the resources already for that training.
Okay, so what they'll be implementing, will it be in addition to the curriculum that they already have to teach, or will it be implemented in what the curriculum is?
Yes, absolutely. It will be implemented. We do have to follow our very rigorous Little Rock School District curriculum, as we do in all of the schools. And as you heard Paul and other schools this evening talk about the enhancement programs that they have, those are built into the schedule, but we do have to follow state standards in keeping with our regular curriculum that we have.
Okay.
Dr. Jones, Ms. Spencer. Comments regarding the J.A. Fair implementation of the plan?
No, sir. I'm ready to make a motion.
All right. We're ready for your motion.
I move in support of the proposal that has been placed in front of us for the K-8 program at J. Fair High School.
It's been moved that the Community Advisory Board recommend approval of the J. Fair K-8 implementation plan. Is there a second to that motion?
I second that motion.
Second that motion.
Okay. It's been moved and properly second that the implementation plan go forward with the Little Rock School District. Do we do a voice vote or just a?
I think you can say all those in favor, Mr.
Okay.
Mason, and then ask for nay, and then if it sounds close, we may have to break it
Okay.
apart.
All those in favor of the approval of the plan, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you so very much.
You're welcome. All right. The next item on our agenda is LG.
You ready for me, Mr. Mason?
And NGL plan? Yes, sir. Ready
Yes, sir.
for you.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you, members of the board, for approval of the K-8 plan. We're excited about both what that represents for K-8 and pre-K, and I love seeing our principals' faces as that got approved, because I know that's going to be a kind of a relief to go back into their staff, say, hey, we're still moving, and this will be the reality for the upcoming school year. You know, it's interesting that when we talk about blueprint, and then we talk about, you know, some of the work we've done to try to utilize our resources in an effective way, the conversation on academies has now almost gone 2 years, and that's kind of remarkable to think about, that this really began 2 years ago and started with a trip that included 4 school districts and our chamber and some other leaders, and now we have 6 chambers involved, and we have you know, multiple city entities that are engaged. We got business leaders and our staffs, especially in the Little Rock School District, are extremely positive right now about this approach. We're at that critical stage, though, just to be honest, before I turn this over to Ms. Montgomery, because it's becoming real. I mean, we know that we have freshman academies right now, but we also know that the career academy thing is right around the corner, and so there's more questions than ever. That's actually a positive. It also means that, you know, our communication efforts have to be extremely tight, and we hope that tonight will help give a good landscape of where we're headed. And this is a way for you as community advisory board members to ask critical questions and give us input, and ultimately it will allow our principals at the site to reach out to their staffs to get input. We're very fortunate that we have the leadership of Dr. Owa now helping us with this. Mr. Randy Rutherford has had his hands in this from the get-go, but the woman that has been with us on both the Excel program that we started with Career Ed, part of the Metro campus, and making it all happen, and now our leader with Fort NGL is Ms. Shamika Montgomery, and I'll turn it over to her.
All right, thank you, Mr. Poor, for that wonderful introduction. Tab, thank you so much for your service to Little Rock School District. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Owa, Mr. Rutherford, and Mr. Poor for my phone calls and texts regarding Fort NGL, because this is something that I'm very passionate about, and I know it's the right thing to do for kids. Mr. Owa, will you advance the slide? Joining me today is James Reddish, the Executive Vice President of the Little Rock Regional Chamber of Commerce. He will share the Chamber's role and how they have continually supported us in the implementation of the academies of Central Arkansas. As you know, we adopted the Fort NGL framework, which includes 3 major strands. And that first strand is transforming teaching and learning.
Hey, hold on, Ms. Montgomery. We've got to get some help here. We have some people that are have forgot to to mute themselves. I think it's our principal celebrating. And so if we could please have everybody mute, and then we could get back into Ms. Montgomery presenting. Thank you.
All right. Are we ready?
Yes. Yes,
all right. All right, thank you. So a part of the Fort NGL framework are 3 major strands, and those are transforming teaching and learning by creating real and relevant learning experiences for students. Strand 2, transforming the secondary school by developing career-themed academies that are aligned with high-wage, high-skilled careers that you'll see tonight. And the third strand is transforming business and civic engagement by engaging employers, educators, and community leaders to support our students. Next slide, Mr. Orr. All right, we've been, as Mr. Poor stated, we've been on this journey for 2 long years, and it's been a great journey. We've traveled to Nashville. Over 50 LRSD employees and community stakeholders have traveled to Nashville, and we've seen career academies in action, and as a community, we've bought into it. Led by the Chamber, we participated in various visioning sessions and master planning sessions with over 100 business and industry leaders so that we can have an open dialogue about what we expect from graduates in Pulaski County. Next slide, please. From that dialogue with the community, we developed the portrait of a graduate. And with that, we expect all graduates to have the ability to communicate, collaborate, and lead, to be career ready and college ready, and to be creative problem solvers. We want our students to demonstrate the ability to work effectively, respectively, and respectively in diverse teams. We feel confident that the class of 2024 will meet our expectations because we are intentional about connecting students with real and relevant experiential learning experiences that you'll hear more about tonight throughout their high school experience. Now I will ask James Reddish to come to discuss Strand 3 and provide an update on how the business is supporting academies of Central Arkansas.
Great, thank you, Ms. Montgomery, and it's great to be with you all this evening. I'm joined by my colleague, Christy Barr, who's our Director of Workforce and Education at the Little Rock Regional Chamber. We are so honored and proud to be standing with Little Rock School District as well as with your sister districts throughout the county in North Little Rock, Jacksonville, and Pulaski County Special. As you undertake this transformation, Shamika referenced several community convenings. We're very proud of the fact that in each one of those convenings, we actually had representation from every zip code in the county, for example. We had representation from every district, faith-based leaders, elected officials, teachers, parents, students. And we have, the reason I would say that we've taken 2 years to get to this point is because we've walked a very intentional path of inclusion in this work. And we've wanted to make sure, in fact, this is at least my 3rd time, I think, addressing this body over those many years, and it's that leadership that I think has brought us now to this point where the implementation is occurring in the schools, where the ownership and the leadership provided by Mr. Poor as well as the other senior leaders within the district and your school level leaders is really starting to show what amazing things are possible through this transformation. Just a brief reminder for you all, part of what was attractive to us in the business community about this model was that it was highly customizable, not only for our iteration of it countywide, but in fact at the district level and then importantly at the school level. Hall's implementation of this, Little Rock West School of Innovation's implementation of this, Parkview's implementation of this, Little Rock Southwest implementation of this, and Central High School's implementation of this will all follow the best practices and the guiding principles, but what they each implement will be right for them. And I think what you'll see from Ms. Montgomery later is that a lot of time and thought has been put into that. That's just the tip of the iceberg. A lot more time and thought needs to be put into this at both the district and the school level. We've been happy to host some of the community-wide convenings and to facilitate some of the cross-district work, particularly as you think about the freshman seminar. That freshman seminar curriculum was made available to the districts at no charge, as was the professional development. RSD Bank Foundation paid for that for all the districts, and we actually had, I'm not sure if this is historic, but I can tell you we had teachers from every high school in this county across 4 districts in the same professional development on the same day, learning about this model and preparing to implement it in their schools and in their neighborhoods. We continue to support at a very micro level each school as they identify their pathways. You'll see that here in a second, and we remain committed to that. We know that additional resources will be needed, and those resources will need to come from the private sector. Our role at the chamber, along with our sister chambers throughout the county, is to help facilitate those business partnerships and make sure your school level leaders and your teachers and your students have the resources they need to be successful. And learning it really on really world-class equipment. Last, but certainly not least, and then I'll sort of stop and be happy to answer questions at the end. We've got our sort of cornerstone event for that freshman level experience coming up in about a month. Just a little under that, December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd will be the first career exposure event for countywide all freshmen in all high schools who are learning off the freshman seminar curriculum. We've got 44 businesses already signed up across 6 different industry sectors. At last count today, I think we had almost 600 students signed up, freshman students from across the Little Rock School District, Pulaski County Special School District, North Little Rock School District, and Jacksonville, North Pulaski School District. And each one of those students has been prepared, as have their teachers been, with a document that was prepared to help them understand why they're doing this experience, to prepare them, to give them questions to ask, and to really facilitate an opportunity for exploration so that these students can get a glimpse in that critical freshman year of what their future could be, to see jobs and occupations and industries that they may not have known existed, but that once they see, they can be it, right? And once they see where their skill sets may align with a job that they didn't even know existed, now all of a sudden they've got a fire that can burn not just through high school but throughout their career. So we are honored to continue to support Little Rock School District and partner with Ms. Montgomery and her team at Little Rock School District. And with that, I'll step back and be happy to answer questions at the end.
And as James mentioned, we're currently working on the Freshman Career Exposure event, which is December 1st through 3rd. And over 44 companies have agreed to participate and work with our students on that day that we're very excited about. Next slide, please. All right, now we're going to take a look at Strand 2, transforming the secondary school experience. So today, every high school in our district is offering the freshman seminar course. And in that course, students learn more about themselves, their interests, and their aptitude, as well as they learn about their study skills, life skills, employability skills, and career knowledge. And we want them to have experiential learning activities such as the Career Exposure Fair and college visits. We've hired academy coaches to help us with this work at J. Fair Hall, and we've hired a young lady who works in my office to support Central and Parkview in this transformation. And I will say that every school are at different stages. And we've worked hard to develop career-themed academies and pathways. As you heard Hall and West mention today, that they're very excited about implementing. Next slide, please. And so when you think about experiential learning for a high school student or transforming the high school experience, as a freshman, students are placed in a freshman seminar course and in an academy, which is a small learning community where we help them to make that transition from middle school to high school. The curriculum, as James mentioned, was purchased from the Nashville Hub, and there's evidence to show that when we support freshmen, they tend to do well in high school and they graduate. And so throughout this experience, at the end of their 9th grade year, students will select a pathway, and not only just select a pathway, but they will make an educated choice about the field of study they want to learn more about while they're in high school. And so when they begin that 10th grade year, that sophomore year, they take an entry-level course in the pathway that they choose. And as an experiential learning activity, those students will also go on an industry-related field trip that's connected with their pathway. As a junior, the second level course that students will take in their pathway, they'll job shadow someone within our community. So CAB, be on the lookout. We'll be asking you to accept some of our students and let them shadow you as well. And then as a senior, we want students to work on a capstone project, be involved in an internship, or even have access to work-based learning where it could be a paid or unpaid experience. So this is the transformation that we're speaking of for every high school student in Pulaski County, which I think is a game changer for our students. Dr. Orr, if you would click on that document, it will open up into a Google Doc. But these are the high schools and the academies that they chose to move forward in as of right now. And I will say, I mean, it took we did a lot of back and forth about these academies, but we're pretty set for next school year. But we do want you all to take this opportunity to view them and, make comments and give us suggestions. But we're really happy because schools are offering different pathways within their academies. And we're looking at this as a Little Rock school district, and we're trying to eliminate competition within our schools and giving this information to our families so that they can make a choice about what their kids are excited about learning more about. And we also use a career planning system as early as the 6th grade called Naviance for students to take surveys on what they like, what they don't like, what's their aptitude, and it will kind of help match kids to various pathways and academies. So I'll stop here to see if there are questions, and then we can finish the presentation if that's okay.
What type of feedback have you had from parents regarding these?
I'll jump in on that initially, if you don't mind, Ms. Montgomery. And
yes,
so,
sir.
Probably Community Advisory Board members, one of the groups that you may have heard the most from is the Parkview community. And I have to own some miscommunication on that. And, we are making a modification to what happens at Parkview. But one of the things I want to share is that at Parkview, we are not going to back off of having a science magnet, and we're going to continue to have a performing arts magnet. So the magnet structure at Parkview is maintained, and it will have both a science component and an art component. And there will be an adjustment in terms of the type of course options and opportunities inside of Parkview, but that has also happened in its history. The biggest thing that we are doing at Parkview that will be a little bit different is to move the engineering program over towards Hall, but that will not happen overnight. And in fact, the students that are currently in Parkview will be grandfathered, and their curricular opportunities will not lessen as a part of this adjustment. But the plain truth is we need more space, and Parkview doesn't have it for the type of engineering program that's envisioned by our community and that needs to be delivered for our kids to have the proper training and preparation for post-secondary opportunities. So that's where we've had probably the largest, push. I will tell you that the work at Hall, as you've heard in the presentation tonight, and the work at Southwest, the work at West School of Innovation has been well received by parents, and some of those conversations have been going on for well over a year, as you can imagine. we also know that with as tonight goes on, this kind of frees up our principals now at each of the campuses to do more outreach to students, staff, and parents, because everything starts to come to a head of things such as having kids make course selections. That course selection process is right around the corner, and we also know that we're going to continue to think through this, but it's kind of a combo, and I'll finish with this, and then Ms. Montgomery may add to my answer, or Mr. Rutherford or Dr. Owa, but you know, it's a combination of understanding student interests and passions, along with what business community says are future job opportunities. We've got to marry those things, and we hope that we've got a good blueprint for that. Doesn't mean that it can't get adjusted or won't maybe move over time, but this is our current best thinking, and we'll continue to work on it from there.
Mike, if I could just add from the Chamber's perspective, Mr. Mason, a great question. We've had a chance to talk with a number of parents, and actually we fielded calls at our Chamber from parents in surrounding counties, the school districts that we often hear families moving out of Pulaski County to go to, asking us when these academies are coming to their schools in surrounding counties. And I think one of the things that resonates most with parents is actually the thing that resonates with us at the Chamber the most. You are hearing tonight a lot about career theme, right? You're hearing a lot about CTE. It's what excites people about this model, but let's remember, we're talking about 3 elective courses over the course of an entire high school experience. They are still taking every one of their math, science, English, and social studies classes. They are still taking advanced placement classes. They are still taking athletics and foreign language. What this does is it provides a measure of relevance that actually engages the student in their high school experience in a way that they're not when they're taught through in a way that's disconnected from reality. When they're taught through a way that is just learn to learn. Many of our students don't do well that way, and in fact it creates many students who feel like they aren't good at learning. That's not their issue, that's an issue with the model. And what we think this model does is you'll see light bulbs go on in students' eyes because maybe they don't get it in the math class when they've got to do a word problem, but that same concept taught in their CTE class when they get to put their hands on it, now all of a sudden that kid's the head of the class. And in that way we've created multiple opportunities for our students to be successful, to feel successful, and to feel a sense of accomplishment. I think that's really what resonates with the parents when they get to understand that this is not about my child's picking their future career forever and ever and ever, amen. This is just something to answer that age-old question, when am I ever going to need to know this, right? If the answer is next period, because you got to do it, that's a powerful motivator to pay attention in your core academics. So I think that's what we've heard most from parents is we like that this is, yes, there's industry theme, and yes, that students will graduate with a better ability to take a job immediately upon graduation. That's all true. But they will also graduate having experienced high school and the core academics in a more meaningful way. And that's what excites us at the Chamber and what we've heard from parents.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, James and Mr. Poor. And I am a parent in LRSD, and when I shared Parkview's transformation with my daughter, she was excited, and she's a junior, so she said, well, why didn't you do this when I started there? So anyway, I think it's a great move for our district. And so with that, we're working with our curriculum and instruction team and teachers to align curriculum and instruction and career and technical education so that teachers can teach through the lens of a career and not in silos not in silos. So Dr. Orr, will you go to the next slide? And we did have a very successful meeting with our curriculum and team to start planning how we're actually going to pull this off. And an example of what we mean by teaching through the lens is that if a kid in the biomedical sciences pathway studies infectious disease, they will have parts of that project show up in English, science, social studies, and math, and that will show how it will make academics stand out as as important as their career theme, which is the biomedical sciences. So we're just excited about the real and relevant learning that will take place through this transformation of Academies of Central Arkansas. So next slide. And so why are we doing this? We are doing this to prepare our students for success in high school, post-secondary education, and careers. And we believe this transformation will positively impact our graduation rate, attendance rates, behavior, and grades. And as a CTE director, I've seen where kids have been connected to a project, an authentic project given to them by a business, and the light bulb goes off. They see the connection, and it's been successful, but it's on a small scale. And so we're looking at giving not just 100 kids an opportunity to make these relevant connections, but every student within our district. And so, Dr. Orr, will you go to the next slide, please? The students you see pictured on this slide are LRSD graduates who participated in our Excel program, and we developed great partnerships with the companies on the slide, and all of these kids are doing great things. Some are working and going to school, some are just in college, and so, I mean, I think this will benefit every kid and just turn on that light bulb that we want them to have, and then produce a great student to enter the workforce or college once they graduate from LRSD. And so with that, in transforming the high school experience, we know that we have to create an educational experience that's connected to business and industry. We have to develop career-themed academies, and we must align core academics with career. And we can do that through working together in our teams and develop schedules to put our kids into cohorts. So are there any questions, any additional questions? Now, you can find more information about the work we've been doing if you visit the Academies of Central Arkansas's website, the Chamber's website, to share like the phase 1 plan and all of that. And we had a great Northeastern University did a research study on our CAPS program, Excel CAPS program, and the findings were through the roof. And the report is here to show how kids saw how they were connected through the career program, and they were disconnected from their high school experience. So we know when we bring these things together, students succeed. So that's the end of my presentation. If you all have any questions, we can try and answer them now. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to the work that we have to do.
Well, I thank you very much. I remember 2 years ago when Mr. Rennie provided the presentation of the Ford NGL to us. I think it was at Metropolitan High School. Mm-hmm. And I was excited when I heard the presentation, and we moved forward, and I'm still excited for the students because this is it helps them understand what their next level, where they will go from high school, and how to interact into society.
Last question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Reddish, I think I heard you say something about funding and knowing that there will be some industry funding that's required. Is this, do we know this will be sustained, or will be able to continue to offer the program year to year and at an effective level, I guess?
Absolutely, great question, Dr. Jones. So we sort of think about this in two ways. There's the initial capital investment to go from the school buildings and the classrooms we have today to what we ultimately would want them to be. We're looking at that through the lens of business investment on the front end in that equipment, and we've actually been able to work with the governor's office and secure some matching dollars to help sort of lever that up. So we've got several $1 million worth of visibility in that direction that will go school by school. We are also, I think many are probably aware that at the end of the last legislative session, there was a sort of topic that was unresolved in front of the Education Committee around CTE funding. As a state, Arkansas spends disproportionately low amount on CTE funding as compared to our peer states, not only in the region, but in the sort of total southeast of the U.S. It's about $22 million when you look at the sort of non-federal dollars. I think there's an opportunity in this upcoming legislative session and in subsequent legislative sessions to think about career and technical education, which would then help the sustainability question, right? We know that consumables and continuing professional development, frankly, the teacher costs can be higher in a robust CTE environment. And so we've been working with the districts on a sort of dual approach here, where we make sure that we've got the resources needed to build world-class environments, but then we also have some visibility into some additional funding that will be able to maintain that robust program of work moving forward. So it's a great question, and it's been a core part of this work almost since the start in terms of identifying those two areas. One of the benefits of being part of this NGL work is that there are 40 other communities in probably 30 different states that provide us some best practices and some examples that we can look at in terms of both funding questions.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, so we'll move on to our next agenda, part of the agenda. Dr. Orr.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. I'm going to have a brief update on the Ready for Learning plan, and then if you have any questions, I will answer those after the presentation or during the presentation if you so choose. We did conduct a virtual day survey with parents. As you can see, we had just in this survey, I think the final number today was a little shy of 4,000 responses. And then in our Spanish version of the survey, we had close to 50 responses. And you can see what the questions from the survey and the results that we did ask. And this PowerPoint will be shared with you all tomorrow morning. The key data point would be, are you in favor of the full virtual day on a weekly basis? And to give you a background information, on this situation, when we've spoken with our educators, our staff members, our principals, parents and students, resoundingly that they all feel that students needed more time to complete projects, work, virtual, both in the virtual learning option as well as the in-person learning option. And teachers needed more time to support and plan for both learning environments. And so when we talked about that, they stated the early release has been working, but more time would be appreciated. And we know that our teachers, our students need more time during this unprecedented time. And so as you can see, 69.4% of the respondents were in favor of the virtual day, and 30.6% were not in favor. Also, you can see to the left the day that Friday was the most favorable day, followed by Wednesday, and then Monday. So Friday, Wednesday, and then Monday were the top choices. On this one, you can see we did ask if there would be any hardships. And of course, you see transportation, childcare, or some type of technology device or connectivity. Just a point of note, or 2 points, we will make it available for students who need to attend school to the buses. Transportation will run during these virtual days if once they decided during the week which day of the week And so students will, if they needed to, report there, and then will access their learning instruction via Schoology while they're at school. Meals will be provided as well. We also, after we collected all of these responses, Mr. Hutchinson has been in contact with all the parents who indicated that a device is needed or there was a connectivity issue or challenge. And so we've been able to address those needs based on the responses that we received from this survey as well. And as you can see, that's where this last data piece, that information that was provided. This slide will show you, there's a link that if you would like to access the Spanish version, you can do so. Also, you will see that we've had a response from at least one response, multiple responses from all of our schools throughout the district, and you'll have that information as well. So we were pleased to have a great representation from all sectors of the district. And just an update for this second quarter, we did have some shift both ways, students moving into in-person learning and then students moving to the virtual learning. As you can see, now we have at the elementary level, 67% of our elementary students choosing in-person learning, 33% have chosen virtual learning. Middle school, 56% and in-person learning, 44% in virtual learning. And then at the high school, almost 50-50, but we have 53% who are in the virtual learning option, and then 47% who are participating in the in-person learning environment. We will continue to provide the student supports with the academic helpline Monday through Thursday. Our elementary students can access from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. through ClassLink. Our secondary students can access from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. We've had parents, teachers, and students to log in these past few months to receive this support. We have, excuse me, 2 schools also who are providing additional supports, Cloverdale and Central. They're hosting their virtual help sessions as well. Our federal programs department has provided the ACT boot camp in partnership with UAPTC. It was the registration sold out or maxed out probably the second day that it was posted. And so they're going to offer more sessions, but we were glad that several of our students took advantage of this opportunity and in the virtual environment. And so we'll continue to provide that support for them as well. Ongoing educator support every Tuesday and Thursday. Our professional development department in conjunction with our curriculum and instruction offices have been providing technology support, instructional support. In fact, since September 23rd, the district has offered 15 sessions on the process of syncing Schoology application with or platform with the eSchool platform. They're actually are part of the same parent organization. And so we've had multiple sessions so that teachers, we could walk teachers through how to sync between the 2 platforms. And once they've gone through the training, they have been able to be, they've had success in syncing those 2 platforms. As you can see, we have the registration numbers, and of those registered, how many attended and how many did not attend. As mentioned earlier, academic helpline, we have teachers and staff members who continue to log in to receive technical support. And then Nearpod training, which is a learning system that our teachers are using. And so we're providing ongoing training for them throughout this year. Of course, you can see 19 sessions have been conducted as of November 2nd, and the registration numbers and the attendance number as well. And I will say, again, the syncing session, we actually had one tonight with it being Thursday. And so we've had some teachers to participate in that tonight as well. Technology devices, Chromebooks, we're fortunate that we've received all of our technology orders. And so we are close to being one-to-one. I know Mr. Ruffins and the tech team, we're finishing up on the secondary. After this week, we should be one-to-one, and meaning that every student, both in the in-person and the virtual learning options, will have a device. And so we're thankful for that. And next, we're working on making sure that all of our elementary students also receive a device so that they can keep that device as they come and go from school to home. Mobile hotspots, we have a little over 4,000 hotspots. Of those 4,000, we've been able to distribute 850, which is not where we want to be. We want to make sure that we're using all 4,000. And so, as stated earlier, Mr. Hutchison has been contacting the parents who indicated that they may have a connectivity issue so that we can get those hotspots out to them. But our counselors and our principals are working with our parents and guardians to make sure that they have this type of support if needed, as well as our educators who may need connectivity support. And then our sound amplification systems, we know that it may be difficult for students both virtually and in person to hear our teachers with the mask. So the district purchased the sound amplification systems. We have 3 remaining elementary schools. After that, after this week, all elementary schools will have their amplification systems. And then the company will start working on the secondary. So they're moving as quickly as possible. I think it's a 2-man, 3-man team. And so we're asking them to move as quickly as possible so that all of our teachers and all of our students will benefit from that support. That concludes my update for our Ready for Learning plan. I will entertain any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board members?
Dr. O, I actually do have a question. Sorry.
Dr. Jones?
Yes, Dr. Jones.
Yeah, so as the students have, it looked like more students have come into the classroom from the virtual environment. How has that affected the ability for in-person students to be socially distanced and all of that good stuff?
Well, great question, Dr. Jones. Several of our principals were anticipating this shift, and so they have had some of our teachers, a lot of our teachers, who move additional furniture or additional material out of their classroom so they can continue to spread the student desk out. Some have swapped classrooms, teachers' classrooms, so a teacher who may have more students will have a larger instructional space. And some, and especially on the secondary level, they've just had to make sure they distance the students as much as possible, and making sure that everyone, which is a requirement anyway, but making sure everyone has their mask on at all times. And so we haven't had a lot of responses here at the district level about any issues with the physical distancing. But like I said, a lot of our principals, most of our principals, were proactive, knowing that we would have that shift back to in-person. And we will probably have another shift at the end of this quarter as well.
Thank you.
And Dr. Orr, when is the semester end?
It ends December 18th, right before we leave for the holiday break. So December 18th.
So we have at least 2-3 more weeks of school.
Yes, sir. Next week, are all virtual days. They're still instructional days, but Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are virtual days. And then we have 3 weeks after the Thanksgiving holiday, and then we'll be into the holiday break.
Okay. Any other questions for any board members?
No, thank you. Thank you.
All right. So,
Mr. Mason, can I make one comment on this to finish?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was thinking during the meeting, Dr. Owa, and I've got it down on my to-do list. Dr. Owa and I will provide a video next week working with Ms. Smith on finalizing what we're going to do on an early release day.
Okay.
We will be moving to an early release day, but we will wait and start that after the end of the first semester and institute that for the second semester. And we will have some things that will address those parent concerns, such as, hey, I still have to work. I need to have a place for my child to be, or my child needs additional attention and needs that in-person learning. So we will address those things. And we've had great help from our teachers, by the way, on that. So we'll put out a video next week that will give parents plenty of time, well over a month, so that they can kind of work with their schedule. And I'm encouraged by the fact that almost 70% of our parents understood that for teachers, this is challenging, for students, this is challenging, and that extra day actually does make sense. So you'll hear that coming real soon. And I'm kind of using this meeting as a vehicle to share out what people can look forward to next week when we do the video.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Smith?
Good evening, CAB members and Mr. Poor, other attendees, and of course our community who is watching via Facebook. We are excited to share the information related to our annual report. This is a snapshot of performance in the school district from the 2019-20 school year. As you may be aware, annual reports typically are looked back at the previous year. We provide an infographic which does a pretty good job of highlighting some of the success, challenges, and areas that we will work to improve and address. I want to share that this information is also posted on the Little Rock School District website, or will be, and as part of our continuing commitment to our stakeholders, we will publish this in the newspaper. Now, it is not required that we post it to the newspaper, but we're doing so because we had a number of community members ask us why we were not putting the annual report in the paper, even though it's not required. So, but we wanted to make sure that we were responsive to our community. And on a broader sense, this report will be included in what we refer to as our community report, which is basically a newsletter, which some of you may be familiar with. It's mailed to your homes over the holiday break. We will continue to do that as well, and we will post the information on the website. We're providing this to you in November, although we were told that it was not required to be provided in November this year, but we wanted to stay on our schedule as we have in past years. This is for your information and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Smith. Next on our agenda is the math curriculum purchase process.
Thank you.
Ms. Worsham.
Let me start off, Mr. Mason, just to remind members of the Community Advisory Board that just now, about 2 years ago, we went through the literacy adoption process and did a massive effort. And now we're looking at math as our next step. And what we thought we'd do is just kind of give you a little bit of a snippet of what we need to do to make sure that we follow all the process and who will be involved in making the decision. And we're very lucky to have Ms. Worsham leading the curriculum instruction group, and I'll turn it over to her.
Good evening, and thank you. Ms. Smith, can you make it where I can share, please? And I would just like to echo as well what everyone else has said, that I thank you, appreciate you, CAB, for, I've gotten to work with you for 2 years now, and I appreciate getting to
be a part of these meetings and share and work with you guys and all that you've done for us. So I really appreciate that. Ms. Smith, just when you get a chance, if you'll let me be able to share, then I'll go ahead, but I'd like for them to be able to see the timelines. So this will be my first textbook adoption with the Little Rock School District. And so Miss Kelly Sutton and I sat down a few weeks back and discussed the process that we currently had in place. And we decided that we felt like it would be really good to implement a 3-phase process for this particular adoption and for any adoption moving forward. And that process would include various stakeholders that would need to be involved along the way. So the 3-phase process would include criteria creation, phase 1 committee review, and then a phase 2 committee review. And you can see on the screen now the different educators that have been a part of that process. So we started with Ms. Sutton, Ms. Jennifer Beasley, who is the director of STEM, and her team, the math members of her team, Mr. Carl Romaine, Ms. Michelle Edwards, Ms. Patricia Goodman, and myself. And we outlined the criteria for different programs that we would like to see presented in the bids that are put forward to us. So the timeline that we've laid out is in October, we work to establish the process and choose the district team, and then also draft the submission criteria. In November, we announced the intent to adopt already, and we've taken submissions and we're working through the process of our initial review now. December will be the full teacher review, which will go through into January, and then the teacher selection will happen in January. So setting the stage in October, what we did was we released criteria for K-5 materials. We decided that we would do this in 2 phases. K-5 would go first. 6-8 is currently in the middle of a pilot program with a grant that we received from the state for some math materials, and we want them to be allowed to finish that 2-year pilot and then determine if they want to continue with those resources or look at a different adoption. So for this round, for this year, it'll be K-5. We'll go through the process I'm going to show you here, and then we will repeat the process for 9-12. So phase 1 is the review, and that's where the district level team is narrowing down the options. I believe we got 7 submissions, and they're going to narrow that down to 2 or 3 submissions based on some established criteria. Phase 2, again, is the teachers, and then lastly, we will vote from across the buildings. So the timeline, the dates that have already, some of them have already come and gone. You can see on the screen, we started November 2nd with Ms. Sutton pushing out those that request for proposals to come into us. And then in November, and the process we go through is we send the criteria to the textbook depository, and then textbook companies send through what they would propose is an option for what we're looking for. We received all of our submissions last week on the 13th. We will ask principals to submit a name to us by tomorrow so that each building can be represented in the phase 2 selection process. And then by November the 25th is where we're going to identify those who will be participating in phase 2. And the district level team will have their review of the initial submissions completed by that point. And then on November the 30th, we will be notifying the vendors if they have been selected for phase 2. Phase 2 is going to include the teachers. We will convene the textbook committee at early December. The teachers will have from mid-December to mid-January to take the textbooks, the materials into their building. They will have a copy of each of the 2 to 3 submissions that have been narrowed down to. They will have rubrics that they will use. And the idea is they take those materials into the building, share with their teachers across the grade levels, have discussions in the building, and then make a determination about which of the products they feel would best fit their needs. By January the 15th, each building will submit their final selections, and by January the 18th, we will have a final selection. Ms. Beasley will present that to myself and Ms. Sutton, and we will bring that back to the board as to what the final selection was from the committee. And like I said, we're going to start with K-5, and then we will repeat that process that we just outlined for 9-12. So that will start in the month of February, and we will have 9-12 wrapped up by March so that we can then get our order in early, to have budgeting for next year early to Mr. Bailey, and then also work on professional development for our teachers over this summer and into next fall. So that's the process. Like I said, it should be pretty straightforward. Getting representation from all buildings was one of our main concerns. And another thing, just want to go back to the beginning real quick. One of the things that we are very concerned about is also having representation from ESOL, GT, SPED, and professional development on the front end, as well as instructional technology. And that's just to make sure that all the right people are at the table as far as narrowing down our choices, making sure that all of our populations are represented and considered when we are making decisions about the materials that we will put out in front of our students. So I'll entertain any questions you have now about the process or the plan.
Any questions from the board members? Thank you, Ms. Worsham.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Mason, if I could interject one more time, I know that maybe seems a little cut and dried, like, well, why did we get that? But this is a big deal because of involvement of staff, and then rollout, and then making sure you do it legally right, because you're talking about in a district this size, if you don't do the procurement process correctly, you can easily get yourself into some lawsuits and so forth. So the work with Ms. Worsham, along with Kelsey's procurement team, Daryl Paradis, is really critical to make sure we do this right. Hopefully you have a degree of confidence not only in how we handle the literacy adoption, but now moving forward on this math one.
Right. Well, we appreciate Ms. Worsham. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is Mr. Bailey. Mr. Bailey, I hope you have some good news for us.
I hope I have a little good news. I'm going to start off with not so good news. Good evening, CAB members and the public. As you all know, our debt extension proposal did not pass. So,
hey, Kelsey, you're kind of coming across as you got a big buzz sound as you talk.
Buzzing again.
Buzzing?
Yes.
Every time, yes.
Am I still buzzing?
Yes.
Not sure I'm buzzing. Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
All right. All right. Well, good evening again. Sorry about that. I guess my session stay open too long. When it gets to my turn, it just decides to die or something. I'm not sure what's going on. But as you all know, our debt service extension proposal that we brought before the voters did not pass. So we don't have a plan B right now. We'll have to come back and kind of discuss some of those capital improvement needs, those major needs that we had on the table at a later date. But that's the bad news, I guess, for now. There is a bad news, but hopefully the market, if we decide to, come back and ask the voters again to do that, the market will still be favorable for us. We still have the same needs out there as far as our facilities. So those needs won't go away. So we will have to address it here in the near future. I'm gonna try to share my screen. If Ms. Smith, will you allow me to share a second? What I'm gonna be showing you, you all have a monthly update as far as financials. I'm also gonna show you a preliminary update on what we've collected so far, which is pretty favorable. It's gonna be some good news as of right now. Let's see if I can share real quick. Right. So what you're looking at right now is our summary of our revenue and status report, and this is, of course, from our last closeout period of actual October. And if you notice that we're pretty much going to just focus on the property taxes here. This is our major collection pieces right here. We have budgeted $90 million in. This is for the first half of the year. We've collected 29 million, almost $30 million over that period of time. So we still had $60 million left outstanding. Of course, property taxes are due without a penalty by October 15th. So we always are readily available to receive our big deposit here the 1st of November, and I'll show you that real quick as well. So, and go back, just look at this 90 million. We budgeted conservative this year, not knowing how COVID-19 was going to affect businesses and people's ability to actually pay taxes. If you remember on the last quarter of last year, our collections came in about $4 million less. So, but the good news, Mr. Mason said he wanted to hear some good news here.
I do.
All right, so we're going to look at this 90 million here, and this is just preliminary based on, this is not the rest of November, but right now we're actually up $6 million on our collection. So we made up some ground from last year. We were about $4 million down, not projecting that, you know, that's going to continue for the rest of the year, but right now it looks very favorable. We still have additional collections to come in November and of course December as well. So hopefully all will continue like that. And we went into a deficit state of budgeting this year based on that conservative approach and based on just having less revenue projected out there. So maybe we'll come back to at least par, you know, for this year, and that's our plan. So things that we're actually doing right now as far as budget wise, of course we'll kind of have to figure out, you know, prioritize those high priority as far as capital, not really capital improvement, but just really emergency replacements, as you know, like air conditioning. And right now we're going to be more looking at furnaces and boilers and different things like that that may fail, and replacing those on a basis as far as emergency wise. We also are looking at our staffing very carefully, and hopefully before Christmas break we'll have a little bit better idea on how staffing is going to go, along with looking at some of the early enrollment numbers as well. So of course our enrollment is down right now about 700, a little over 700, our K through 12, and our element and our pre-K is down about 900 as mentioned earlier. But we'll be looking at those staffings and ratios and seeing how we can kind of adjust those for the upcoming fiscal year. And of course right now we have a hiring freeze that Mr. Poor and HR admin has actually implemented right now. So only hiring those very essential employees right now. Really just taking our time looking through all aspects of areas that we may be able to reduce and become more efficient. Go back to this other report here as we kind of scroll down. That's really the highlight right now. We're so early on into the actual fiscal year, so really we're looking at our property taxes very closely and seeing how they're going to come in. We should have been looking at about 3% increase over the overall projection of last year, but I think we budgeted about 1.5 based on the collections that we had in the past. So if we scroll down to the next section here, you'll notice our expenses here, and of course our top expenses always are our salaries and our benefits there. So we'll pretty much focus, and this shows that certified still has available balance about 7.7 million. We'll have to pay some stipends and different other things out of that, but we still have some room there. We went in the budget cycle with about 100 vacancies overall, not all certified, but a mixture of certified and classified. So we still have a little room there. Some of the things we'll have to consider: January 1st, our minimum wage will go from $10 to $11. We've started to look at some of those groups. I know right now on one report we ran, we have about 50 employees that make under that $11 mark. Some employees that, you know, just started with maybe 1 or 2 years experience. So we have to adjust some of that. So we'll be bringing back maybe on next month a better idea of what we may be looking at as far as that minimum wage adjustment. But otherwise, that's pretty it for budget. We'll scroll down, and always the financial reports are comprised of 3 sections. You have your revenue, you have your expenses, and then you have basically what's called your changes in fund balance. So if we scroll down on this one, when you're looking at the detailed statement of changes in fund balance, you'll notice the 1,000, we call this a 1,000 fund. This is our teacher salary fund. It's always negative because we actually transfer out our general operating to cover what we spend out of that fund at the end of the year. So if you want to look and see what we really have in general operating along with categorical funding, you could take that minus 28.7 million, come down to the end of Fund 2. You can see that's 43.9 million. So right now, based on last month, our fund balance would have been about $15 million. Next fund is our bond fund. We've been spending out there to finish up Southwest. We will have to cover these deficits over there, so we'll have to make some transfers over from our operating funds. We have a Fund 5. It shows that's just based on how we're spending out of that's our dedicated maintenance and operations. So we have 2 mills dedicated for that. This revenue will increase to catch up with actual expenditures. We don't hold them back from spending because that money is coming in our general collection as far as our taxes. And when we get to our Fund 6, that's of course all our federal funds. So that's pretty much how we all fund.
The CARES Act is in this federal fund.
Yes, sir. And we pretty much expended our CARES funding. Not sure if we're going to get some additional funding, but we have plenty of PPE remaining as far as masks. We have sanitizer. We have some wipes as well. And schools have been requesting along. Of course, we ordered electrostatic sprayers for all locations, and we have those supplies. We're using what's called a bio-SQ, so it's a purely botanical solution there. Made from the plant time. So right now we're doing pretty good as far as PPE.
Okay.
We have a lot of masks, and we've had a lot of different entities contact us about donating masks. We've taken all the donations thus far. So, okay. And this is where the CARES Act right here. You see the 6780. That's the fund where it says Ed Staff Fund, ESSER. So you can see the revenue that's come in. We've had some more revenue come in the past, but we had $5.3 million of expenditure. So we've expended our money.
Okay.
That's pretty much it right now for update. This was very hopeful to see the collections where they are right now. So hopefully that we'll finish this year out even in a more positive manner, and the second half of the year the same. So we need it, definitely need it.
Okay. Well, any questions from members of the CAB regarding the budget? All right. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Need better news next time. The next meeting, for sure.
I had $6 million. I don't know if I can get any better than that one.
Well, that was good. That's good. But we need a little bit more.
I was hoping we could talk about 200 million, but we'll do that maybe next year.
Well, I'm trying to make some differences next year, the next couple of years, possibly. Okay. We'll move on.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
All right, Ms. Poor, do you want to introduce the policy?
Yeah, thank you. And this is our second reading. This is a potential action item, and I will quickly go to Mr. Walker to lead us through it.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Also want to extend my thanks to the CAB members worked with over the last few years. We really appreciate your service. It has been really great working with you all. So what you have before you is Section 8 revisions. You may recall a couple months ago, you all approved after a couple readings the revised document. During a legal review at the Department of Education, they expressed a little concern on 8.43 to make sure it was balanced. Ms. Eason explained this to you in regard to PPE, in regard to supervisors. There was discussion in that policy on employees, but not supervisors. So got together with the classified PPC and worked on a revision. So the entire 29-page document before you, you have approved all of it. So the only change is on the last page, page 29, this highlighted section was reinserted into the policy language. It was there prior, and the PPC had asked to kind of do some modifications, which was ultimately approved. But we're going to have to take this packet back to the Department of Education for final approval, and we needed to make the adjustment on 8.43, page 29. And it just restores the previous language that was in there prior to the strike through. Because what you approved had the strike through, the language here does not. And so that's highlighted below. That's the only change. And we just need approval before submitting the entire document again. Be happy to answer any questions if necessary, but I don't think it's controversial. And as Ms. Easton said, the classified PPC did approve this.
Okay. Does any the members of the board have any questions regarding?
No questions.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, so if there are no questions, any motions? Any motion?
Mr. Mason, I move that we adopt the changes to the policy as written.
So Dr. Jones, you're moving that the Community Advisory Board recommends approval of the Little Rock School District request revisions to policy section 8, classified personnel.
Yes, forgive me for not stating the full.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. The motion has been made and a second has been made to approve the changes in policy 8, classified personnel. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Mr. Poor, is there anything else that needs to come before the body?
Just if there's any board comments, and after that, you can seek to have a motion to dismiss.
Okay. Any board comments? Any CAB member want to say goodbye or hello?
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
We'll still be around though, so, yeah.
Well, formally, as a member of the CAB, I want to thank the CAB board members for the late night sessions, the personnel sessions, the board meetings. Thank you for your attendance, your participation, and thank Mr. Poor for his leadership, and the Little Rock School District administrators for their leadership. Thank you for all that you've done for the students in Little Rock School District. It's been an adventure as a member of the Community Advisory Board. I know I got another journey to go, and but I want to thank you all for all that you've done and what you do for the students of Little Rock School District. It's important. You are creating better citizens for the state, for the city, and we applaud you for what you do. Thank you very much. And I'll see you on the other side. Any other board members? Any other comments?
I didn't get a chance to thank. I want to thank everybody. It's been a pleasure working with you all. Hopefully we can continue to work in the community, and you all continue to give back to our children and our city. So you all have given so much of yourself, and pray that be given back to you as well. So you do this without complaining, without any pay, anything else. So 2 thumbs up from me. It's been a pleasure working with you all, and wish you all the best in whatever your future endeavors might be.
Lapita, you don't have anything to say?
Oh, well, I will miss you. All these years will be like a family, and I will miss you so much.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Lapita, for your work and dedication.
And all the work is from others. That's good.
Ms. Spencer, I'm surprised.
I get the Thursday to my life.
Okay, yeah, you have your Thursday back, huh?
I have my Thursday back.
Ms. Spencer, calling on you.
Just want to say thank everyone. I was often considered that passionate one on the board because my passion would exude, or I would get responses from people that understood my passion. But I just want to thank Mr. Poor for his leadership, and not only Mr. Poor, but for his leadership cabinet as well.
Yes,
it's been great to serve. It's also been a true learning opportunity. There's a lot of great work that is actually pouring out of that administration building. And so often you hear the negative. But I say kudos to Mr. Poor, to Kelsey Bailey, to Mr. Robert Robinson, to Dr. Fields, Mr. Walker, and to Jordan. And so just everyone, and I truly enjoyed serving in this capacity. I won't be a stranger, and those are all the words. Just keep doing the great work, and just to Miss Pamela Smith, just for what she's doing to help spotlight the great work and the success of the school district.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Dr. Jones?
Well, like I said before, I am just grateful for the opportunity to serve as a member of the Community Advisory Board. I learned a ton about the inner workings of the school district, and it was a pleasure for me to get to understand everyone's passion and commitment to our children and their education. And so even though I will no longer be on the school board, I'm definitely still around, and for the short time I've been here, you all know I have opinions and I'm not afraid to share them, so I will certainly continue to do so. So again, thank you, Mr. Poor, Dr. Ola, Kelsey, Ms. Smith, Mr. Walker. All of you guys have been really great in terms of, welcoming me to the board and making sure things run smoothly up at the district level. So I appreciate all of your hard work, and it was a pleasure to work with you guys. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Ms. Morning, do you want to say anything before I know I'll see you on the other side too.
Right. I'm just getting started with everybody. So I'm excited just to be a part of it. I'm learning that, I have to get some better cushion for my seat. Camera off because I had to get up and stand up and walk around. So I'm learning, and I just appreciate y'all for all you've done. Just being in it now and realizing, how intense it is and how much it requires. It really takes a big heart to do something like that, out of the goodness of your heart. So thank you all for your service, and everybody that's just been sewing into me too to help me take the baton. So I'm looking forward to everything that's to come, and there it is. Okay.
All right. I would like to entertain a motion for adjournment.
But I think we owe Rutherford and Mr. Darren Smith kudos just as well. And so there were times where those individuals would come in and just really break it down for us to have a greater understanding. And so I think it's very important for us to make sure that we recognize the great work and input verbally that they do as well.
Yes. Thank them also. Yeah.
Ms. Spencer, and may we adjourn now?
A motion. I entertain a motion for adjournment.
Well, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second that.
It's been moved and properly second that we adjourn. We are, if any unreadiness not to adjourn, we are adjourned.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.